Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Clearly, you have opinions about John C. Reilly, but you know what? This isn't the John C. Reilly show. This is 4Player Podcast, and I'd like to welcome everybody to a brand new episode. This is episode 621. It is November. I was about to say it's 11/12/2019. It is November 12th, 2019. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm joined by Brad Simons.
Yes, what's up?
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
And John C. Reilly.
Not exactly.
I'm just kidding. It's Christopher Davis.
That's me. It's Chris.
There was a poll about boomers or something, and Chris Davis wasn't on it, and everyone was disappointed.
Wait, what?
The fuck? What?
Carlos?
There was a Twitter poll of who's the most boomer for 4Player podcast, and Chris Davis wasn't on the poll.
Well, because he's obviously the winner, so it's you can't.
You know what the problem with that poll was? Like, in order to see the results, I had to vote in it, but I didn't want to vote in it because I didn't want to. I didn't want to fuel that fire. Also, I didn't want to click a vote just to find out that I was winning that poll. You know, I would no desire to see the outcome of that poll. But anyways, guys, welcome to the show. Of course, this is the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. We get together every week and talk about video games. It is a big release week.
It is.
We are going to dive deep and probably answer lots of questions, maybe from Brad, who hasn't played yet. But we're gonna talk about Death Stranding. You know,
that weird ass game.
The weird ass game from Hideo Kojima is finally out in the world, and there is a lot to discuss there, a lot to unpack there. So we've all played a pretty good. Well, not all of us. We've played a pretty good chunk of the game, and we're going to talk about it tonight, along with other things like Luigi's Mansion 3, MO Astray. Is that how you say that? MO Astray? Okay.
No one really says it in the game.
I guess you're right.
I think it's Mo Astray.
Mo Astray. I don't know. That weird-ass game. We'll talk about that as well. But before we do, a couple things. One, of course, if you are not yet a member of our Discord, we'd love to have you. Please check it out, discord.gg/4player. Also, we, let's see, Revival Club. We have voted and picked a new game for the Revival Club. We're going to wrap up our time with Fear, which was our last choice for the last 2 months. We're going to wrap up our time with Fear by recording a short podcast about it. Hopefully, I would imagine, I've been given the okay from Carlos to say that he'll be on the show. So Thursday night, I'll be recording that with Carlos and a special guest from our community. It should be fun. Just kind of get our final thoughts on Fear, which is a dope-ass game out there. But we voted. The people have spoken. And for the next 2 months or so, we're going to be playing a game that Nolan loves and Brad loves. I know that. Dragon's Dogma.
I was hoping KOTOR 2 would win.
Woo! Fuck KOTOR 2. Dragon's Dogma.
KOTOR 2, it was actually a really close race.
Star Wars is pretty relevant.
KOTOR
right
2
now,
was actually my vote, but it came in second place.
I would like to do KOTOR 2 just so I can experience the recut mod.
The recut mod.
Or the reconstruction mod.
Oh.
That restored all the content that was cut from the game before release.
That
He's
could be.
exaggerating.
We're talking like
a little
2
bit.
planets.
We can't get excited about something like that until it actually wins the poll, but I am going to leave it in the poll for the next few times because I'm sure it will eventually win.
After the Star Wars. I mean, no one's going to care about Star Wars.
Dude, it's Star Wars. What do you mean no one's going
There's
to care
more
about Star
movies.
Wars?
There's more Star Wars.
There's always Star Wars to care about. Who cares?
But this is Star Wars excitement
But
time.
that's not how this works. The point is, the people spoke. They want to play Dragon's Dogma. We're going to play some Dragon's Dogma.
If it was peak Star Wars time, Brad, they would have voted on it.
I have never played Dragon's Dogma more than like 2-3 hours tops. So I never got to really experience the magic that we've actually talked about here. So wow. Thanks, Brad. Taking the wind out of my sails. I'm very excited to play it, and so are members of the community. If you're interested in playing along and talking about it in Discord, we have a special channel set up. And all you have to do to be a part of that channel is support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player, or you can subscribe to us on Twitch at twitch.tv/4playerpodcast. But without further ado, let's...
Before you move on...
Revival Club. He said without... This is more ado!
No,
he said no more ado!
A little bit more ado, okay?
I did not say no more ado. I said without further ado.
I just want to know, for the Revival Club recording that you're going to have, did you end up playing Extraction Point and Perseus Mandate?
No, I did not. But I finished the core game of Fear. I mean, it's not because I didn't want
sad.
to. It's not because I didn't want to. And to be honest, I still have a day between this recording. I could maybe play it tomorrow night. But let's be honest. I'm going to play Death Stranding tomorrow night.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, shit. That
Jesus. Smooth.
My bad. One more thing, actually. There is more ado. I'm so sorry, Nolan, but it's a big month. Because thanks to our support from our friends on Patreon, we hit 150 patrons, and we are therefore doing a Project M in December. On December 14th, it's going to be a race through a big game. We're all going to be in the same room together, having fun playing this game from start to finish.
You're assuming we're going to have fun.
I'm assuming.
You can't guarantee that I'm going to have fun.
I can't guarantee it.
You're going to have fun, and that's an order.
I think we're going to do our best. We've had a lot of fun the last 2 times. We're going to do that. I'm hoping we're going to be raising some money for charity. We're still trying to get all the details kind of ironed out. We're going to try and iron those out this weekend so that on next week's show we have more details to share with you about like what game we're going to be playing, what the rules are. We're taking a slightly different approach to it this year in terms of like the goals of it and like how you win per se, I guess. So there'll be some twists in there. It should be a lot of fun.
For every $1 we earn, Chris Davis is going to dab.
Oh shit, we can work some dabbing in there.
Don't
It'd be great.
promise things that aren't.
Dab for the kids. Dab for the kids. But anyways, yeah, so we'll have more details to share on that next week. But if you're interested in supporting us, go to patreon.com/4Player. We're working towards our next goal. When we hit 175, we'll do a themed month, flashback month on the stream where we play nothing but games from a particular year of our choosing. It'll be fun. A little fun little experiment. But yeah, 175 is our next goal. So patreon.com/4Player.
For the children?
He's a monster.
For the children, maybe, but not for Chad.
Okay.
We're all
They don't deserve it.
Let's be honest.
They don't deserve it, but
we're
you know
all
what the children do. So God damn it, you're gonna dab for the kids, Chris Davis.
I will dab as part of a group. If everybody dabs here, I will.
If we all dab with him, and then we all stand in front of him and obscure him from view of the camera, he will dab with us. All right, let's get started today, guys. Of course, I want to read some feedback from our last episode. Last week we talked about Luigi's Mansion 3, The Beast Inside, Disco Elysium. Let's go. Browna has our first comment this week. Browna says, "Hey guys, I just want to say the show is great. I discovered you guys a long time ago when I watched the Holy Shit, That's a Bear. It's actually Holy Crap, That's a Bear, but you know what. It's how,
that's
just nitpicking here a little bit. And it left me in tears from how much I laughed. I was 14 then and must have rewatched that video dozens of times. I'm 23 now, by the way, for retrospect. Anyways, I just wanted to say that, and also thanks for recommending me Disco Elysium. That game is so fucking good, and I probably would have never played it without your recommendation. Peace." That's awesome. We are also enjoying Disco Elysium quite a bit. Nolan over here hasn't started it yet, but he is.
There's too many fucking games.
You know what? But I feel like Death Stranding got its hooks in you. So you look like you're addicted to Death Stranding so far. So maybe,
I like it. Yeah.
maybe you'll keep that ball rolling. You'll finish Death Stranding and roll right into Disco Elysium.
I got to finish Outer Worlds. And
you,
Luigi's
though?
Mansion 3.
We've got big releases between now and December.
I need to finish Outer Worlds because I need to cancel my fucking Game Pass.
You mean the Outer? Oh no, you got it right. Outer Worlds.
Yeah, I know. I always get it right.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What, the Outer Worlds?
I don't want to fucking pay $15.
Game Pass.
Yeah.
So I got to finish Outer Worlds.
I would like to finish
it
the Outer
renews.
Worlds, but I'm not. I'd be lying if I told you I thought that took precedent over Death Stranding and over Disco Elysium.
Game of the year. Oh, we're gonna ask the big question tonight.
Here it comes.
The big Nick question we've been asking throughout the year.
Here it comes.
Don't answer it yet. Don't answer it yet.
Don't answer.
Why is it always
you gotta
me?
save it.
Hey,
you gotta save
at
it.
least you're driving in a motorcycle on this one.
Oh.
Fuck off. But you know what? I did update my ranking today.
Holy shit.
Big news, guys.
It's finally took down the big dog?
Thorax from
You haven't even finished this game. You can't say that.
Ignores the question.
Thorax says, "I noticed on last week's podcast whenever Nick mentions playing Red Dead 2 again, tension forms between him and Chris Davis. Is everything all right?" You're right. There is some tension there.
There's a little bit of tension.
Because Chris Davis is
I
very
feel like
concerned.
it's somewhat manufactured. I feel like Chris Davis's heart isn't in it. I mean, he likes Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
who
but
cares?
he's very concerned about the fact that I'm spending some of my time. By the way, you know
better
how
than watching Smallville again.
fuck off. Do you know how much?
But that's my thing, right?
Do you know how much?
I'm just worried about how he's using his time.
Do you know how much
given
Red
up
Dead I've
years
played
ago.
since last week, Chris Davis?
Yeah? How much?
About 3 out, maybe 2.5 hours, maybe.
That's 3 more hours that you played of Red Dead than you did of Ace Combat 7.
But you know what?
Months.
But Chris Davis, you know what? I also played 19 hours of Death Stranding and
he
about
found this year's Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, I thought he found that earlier in the
this
year.
fucking troll over here. My God. I don't know. Chris Davis is just very concerned. Like, I'm going to stop playing all the new stuff so I can play more Red Dead.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Nick. He's
That's
good
a
at keeping up.
fair worry, though.
No, he's good at keeping up.
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't going to play like fucking MO Astray, but maybe he doesn't need to.
But I am going to play Disco Elysium because that game is sick. All right. Fuzzy Turd says... All right, this is a long one. So I was looking back at some 4PP nostalgia. So this is feedback regarding
Does the turd come out fuzzy, or does it like fall and fuzz? And that's what makes it fuzzy.
I think it falls and then it like stays where it is for a while and grows.
I thought it just grabbed onto some fuzz as it was coming out, like the hair.
Oh no!
Oh, this took a weird dark turn.
There's no good scenario.
All right,
Well, it's like trying to wipe peanut butter out of like a shag carpet.
Ah! No, oh God! Why did you say that, Nolan? All right, he says, so I was looking back at some 4PP nostalgia, so this is feedback regarding something a little older. Anyway, I noticed y'all made a Season 1 opening. Jesus, a little older. God. My God, that's 10 years old. Are we still on Season 1? When is Season 2? When are you going to pull a Fortnite and make a Chapter 2?
This was like an old meme.
This is actually a prequel.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like at this point, it has just become like part of our culture here. It's just like...
We're still Season 1, baby.
The joke, the running long joke is like, are they still in Season 1? Like, what's going on? We would never change it.
Are you gonna do a top 5?
Now that's some old 4Player memes right there. But he goes on to say, also, I hate to ask y'all to worry about keeping track of another thing on the podcast, but can you accept feedback from the podcast posting on Patreon? I oftentimes want to leave feedback when I'm listening, but then I remember I have to wait, and then I end up completely forgetting by the time you release it to the quote-unquote undesirables. Just kidding with that last bit. Don't want to start another class war. You know what? I don't usually check that, but I will tonight just for you, or next week. I don't know. I usually just don't think about it because I when we start recording, I pull up last week's podcast post, and that's what I read. So maybe I'll start checking the Patreon post as well. Not a lot of people leave feedback there. It's really just for people who get access to it early because they support us on Patreon. They get it 24 hours early, and no one really interacts with it there. And last thing he says is, one last thing, I'd like to thank Brad.
Yeah, I'm listening.
For dick writing Yakuza so much because I gave the series another chance after not being able to get past the clunk that is common in Japanese games. Got Yakuza 0, and I haven't been so hooked on a game since Red Dead Redemption 2.
Nice.
I approve of this comment.
How's that Sunshine Club?
Brad, how do you respond?
Bravo, man. Bravo, finally. That's the best one to start with. But usually everyone takes my advice when I say to start with that one.
Except for someone.
Except for Chris Davis.
Fuck y'all.
Who's currently not
Fuck you.
a huge Yakuza fan.
As a direct result of his decision to not follow Brad's recommendation.
Actually, what matters is that Chris Davis, you're going to pick up Yakuza 7, the RPG?
Maybe. I don't know yet.
Okay.
Dude, Yakuza 0 had one of the best characters of that year.
Yeah, that's true.
Chicken Nugget.
All of them.
All right. Our last comment tonight comes from Slopdog. He says, to weigh in on the King of the Hill versus The Simpsons with my own subjective opinion.
By the way, Simpsons is on Disney Plus, all of it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but it's fucked up.
The aspect ratio is not right?
Yeah, they stretched in widescreen and cropped it. So, like, anything that had a joke at the top of the screen, like, you miss out on completely. It just passes.
Is that a fairly
What's
common
up with
thing?
that? Why would they fuck that up?
Why would they change the aspect ratio at all? Just
It
leave
seems
it
like
4:3.
It seems a lot of work to go through to, like, it seems like a lot of hoops you got to jump through when you could just not jump through those hoops and just put it up and everyone would be happy. It's weird. He goes on. Okay, sorry. The Simpsons with my own subjective opinion. Even though I love King of the Hill, I have to give it to The Simpsons for being the funnier show overall. But one thing that King of the Hill has over The Simpsons is that it ended. Fate wasn't merciful enough to have had the show closed before everyone's character arcs were reset or abandoned, becoming unlikable caricatures of themselves. Hank becoming more overbearing, Peggy more egotistical, Bobby more impressionable, Bill more pathetic and sad, etc. But at least it stopped. But seasons 1 through 7 are pure gold out of any animated sitcom series.
Yeah, 1 through 7. Like the last time The Simpsons were good were the 90s.
I think he's talking about King of the Hill there.
No, yeah, he's talking about the King of the Hill 1 through 7.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I'd probably stop after season 7 of The Simpsons.
I also feel it's very strange that the season there's like 30 plus seasons of The Simpsons,
Probably.
and none of the kids have aged a bit, which I know is a weird thing to even care about.
I mean, they make that joke every now and then, just calling that out. But
Okay.
that's
low hanging fruit, and it's not funny. Sorry. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for your feedback. Of course, if you have anything you'd like to contribute after tonight's discussions, you can leave us a comment on the site at 4playernetwork.com. Just find the post for this episode, leave us a comment, and we'll read and respond to it at the beginning of next week's show.
Really? He doesn't like anything after season 7? The first episode of season 8 is Patch Boomhauer. That's a great fucking episode. Do you know who plays Patch Boomhauer?
No.
Brad?
I think I did at some point.
Do you guess?
Jeff Bridges.
No.
John
C. Reilly.
It was not John C.
No!
It was Brad Pitt.
No.
Dude, there's some great fucking episodes after in seasons past season 7. There's the one where they fucking go to the ranch. Peggy's parents ranch or whatever, and like Bobby, dude, that's a great fucking episode. And fucking what's his face, the Fonz, is in that episode. Henry Winkler, but he's in that episode as Henry Winkler. He's like, "Hi, I'm Henry Winkler."
I mean, Drew Carey had his own episode.
Yeah. Dude, there's a lot of good King of that. I wouldn't say it stops at season 7.
Yeah.
How many seasons were there overall?
Like 13.
Huh.
Yeah.
But I understand, some of the last couple, I guess, weren't in their the best of them all. But that's okay. There's a couple of episodes. There's a couple of seasons of King of the Hill that aren't the best. How many episodes of The Simpsons are not the best? I would say there's a lot more bad Simpsons than there is bad King of the Hill.
Yeah, that's true.
Wasn't the Firehouse episode season 8 or 9 or something like that?
Probably. That's a great fucking episode.
That's an excellent
Where
episode.
they burned down the firehouse?
Yeah.
75% of The Simpsons is bad, at least.
If you took every bad episode of The Simpsons and put them put them consecutively, organize them into quote unquote seasons like King of the Hill, there were probably 13 seasons worth of bad
Probably.
episodes of The Simpsons, at least. All right. Actually, there probably more than that, considering there's 30 seasons of The Simpsons already. Let's talk about video games. Ready? Are we ready to do this? Oh, real quick. Aside. Movie aside.
Yeah.
I saw Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
The sequel to The Shining. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's been reviewed
It's
pretty
bombing
well.
at the box office, which is a real shame. They got beat up by that fucking
Terminator?
No, it did not get beat by Terminator, which is also kind of a shame.
Terminator needs some love. That movie's pretty good.
The thing is, I was like, maybe
why? So, why would you think that Dr. Sleep would be a box office success, given what the fuck it is?
well, considering it's right on, it's coming off the heels of the success of It, which yeah.
But how is it related to It?
It's a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah, but 42 things that come out every year are Stephen King related.
It's also,
I'm saying The Shining is not really in people's,
I mean, yeah, but it's also it's an iconic film.
True.
It's an iconic.
The Shining?
It's fucking old.
Yeah, but this isn't The Shining.
I mean, to be honest, I'm sure there's a huge. I mean, in this
Okay,
actually,
can I ask a genuine question I don't know the answer to? Is Dr. Sleep based on something?
yeah, there's a book called Dr. Sleep.
Okay, so Stephen King did write a sequel to The Shining called Dr. Sleep.
He wrote a sequel to The Shining
Didn't know
after
that.
his car accident.
Didn't know that.
Which happened. There's a lot of shit that happened.
Does that have something to do with Misery?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I didn't even really know. I have not read Dr. Sleep. I didn't even honestly know what Dr. Sleep was about. All I had to go on was what was in the trailer, which doesn't tell you a lot.
Yeah.
And I was even halfway through the movie, I was like, how is this going to meaningfully connect to The Shining?
Well, he's got the shinin.
Yeah, I mean, but
isn't there a evil cult in the movie?
When you think of The Shining, what do you think of? You think of the hotel,
Sure.
right? And it's just kind of without that, what exactly makes it how is it going to maintain its identity without that component there? And it actually does a really good job of doing that before it even starts, because it does eventually start to layer on lather on the the throwbacks and the nostalgia or whatever. But it takes a while to get to that point.
Does someone break down a door with a machete?
No, but there is a clever nod to it. But also the clever nod to it is kind of given away in the trailer. Which is kind of
I don't.
Is there a
remember.
CG Jack Nicholson in there or something?
No. No CG Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
There are several characters from The Shining that were recast.
Is there like a blood escalator?
No blood escalator. Okay. I'm just saying, Ewan McGregor is really good in the movie, and
Ewan McGregor's good in a
Ewan
lot of
McGregor
movies.
is fantastic in the movie, but Rebecca Ferguson, who is the the villain of the movie, who's like the leader of the cult that you mentioned.
Has she been in anything else?
She was in Mission Impossible Fallout and Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
She was great in those, but she fucking steals the show in this movie. I just wanted to put it out there. I wanted to recommend it because it's not doing very well in the box office. So if I can get anybody out there to go check it out and do my part to help boost its sales a little bit,
also,
I'll
how
do
about
it.
Terminator?
Yeah,
Terminator needs some love.
I was thinking,
Terminator's had a lot of opportunities.
see, that is the one thing about that is they had so many chances, and I think they've worn out their or they've used all of their goodwill, and now they're paying for it, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, but the problem is that James Cameron, he didn't come back to direct any of those films except for Dark Fate.
I know, but that means
after 2.
The problem is they kept.
So any of those others, that property just kept getting passed to studio to studio to
I
studio.
know,
Wait,
and that's their fault, and now they're paying for it.
James Cameron directed this most recent
Yes.
one?
No. But he's a producer of it.
Oh, he produced
Yeah.
it. I thought
The director of Deadpool did this one.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim Miller.
Tim Miller.
Miller.
Is it Tim Miller?
It's Tim Miller. Yeah.
Okay, Tim Miller directed this one, but James Cameron returned as executive producer.
Gotcha.
And visionary of it.
So essentially, he was just like, "No, you don't do that."
Yeah, probably.
this.
He gave thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, you know what? I do want to see the new Terminator. I'm hearing decent things. People in our own Discord are like, yeah, it's pretty good. You should go see it. And I was like, I'll throw it a bone. Maybe I'll go see it. I'll have to probably go see it by myself because Robin doesn't want to see it. I'll go see it. I'll throw it a bone. And I was like, wait, I'm going to go see it for free because I got the Draft House season pass thing. So
there you go.
I'm not really going to throw it a bone.
Well, you better fucking hurry. It's probably not going to be out long.
Hurry.
I'm just going to go watch it for free, I guess.
I guess my guess is it's not going to make it another week in the Draft House.
Wow.
Maybe I'll find time to go see it this
Hey.
weekend or something.
I've been watching some stuff.
Okay. Hit us up.
I watched all of the How to Train Your Dragon movies over the weekend.
I haven't
all
seen
of
the third
them?
I only haven't seen the most recent one, but
There's
the
three
first
of
two are
them.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the first two.
I was watching them, and it made me want to play some Monster
Hunter?
Not so I can go in and kill dragons, but so I can go in and just hang out with the dragons, try to learn about them,
Try and pet the new dragon.
touch their nose.
You know what would be cool? A game where you could ride dragons and fight other people.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool if the game like that didn't get canceled.
Yeah.
Panzer Dragoon.
Man, that is like How to Train Your
Yes!
Dragon, the game.
Wait,
Motherfucker, Scalebound.
Scalebound.
Oh, yeah.
Motherfucker, how did that happen?
The dragons in that weren't quite as cutesy as
not all of them.
but yes, I get your point. I
saw Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, how's that?
I really liked it.
Oh, I really want to see that.
I can't say that. I don't want to say this because it'll be taken out of context. Does
that have something to do with Hitler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Entire
Hyling.
movie's about Nazis, so anything you say can be
I
taken
know,
out of
but
context.
Hyling him, the most number of times I've ever heard it said, but made me laugh. It's one of those scenarios where it's they say it and it's ha ha ha, and they say it a few more times. It's all right. It's getting old now, and they do it, and it's oh okay, it's funny again. It's funny again.
All right.
But dude, no, yeah, it's great because Taika Waititi plays Hitler.
Yeah.
But he's an imaginary. He's the main character's imaginary friend Hitler.
Yeah.
And dude, one of the early parts of the movie is pretty funny.
It's so funny because the trailers don't really explain that very. The first trailer, I was like, why is that little boy talking to Hitler? What is going?
Yeah, but no, there's some great scenes where it's because it's a thing where someone has an imaginary friend, so the imaginary friend is interacting with people, commenting on them, but obviously they can't hear him because he's not actually there. But just having an imaginary Hitler, saying stuff to people, and he's like, "Shut up, Hitler."
It's a brilliant concept, and it sounds perfect for Taika Waititi.
Dude, it's great. It's a good movie.
It's Harvey with Nazis.
I would. It's more than the problem is, and I don't want to spoil anything. It's more than what it seems, and I would highly recommend it.
Cool. Rob and I we might even try and do that this week. We still want to do a double feature of Jojo Rabbit back to back with Parasite.
I would 100%.
Which I feel like it's
Rabbit.
going to be Whiplash, but I really want to do it. So
are you going to see about getting tickets to the Thanksgiving they're doing at the Draft House?
Thanksgiving.
I don't have time.
Thanksgiving. Is that King of the Hill related?
No,
No,
it's
Tom Hanks.
it's a Tom Hanks thing to do every year. They pick 3 or 4 different films, so you don't know which ones, and you show them.
Robin is still she's like always watching out for tickets to go on sale for the Lord of the Rings feast.
You know they're doing that for Star Wars, right?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna watch.
That would be nuts.
It's not as like
the problem with the Star Wars one is you have to
watch bad movies.
You have to watch bad movies, and you have to be there from beginning to end. Or they'll give your seats
they give
away.
your seat away. Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna watch 9 hours of fucking.
It's more than 9 hours.
No, I mean, but I'm talking about like just the ones I don't want to watch.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, when are we gonna start the show?
Yeah, we should talk about Death Stranding. Let's talk about Death Stranding. Which, to be honest, I have no idea where to even really start with this game because there's so much to unpack. I think just right out the gate, I think it's first of all, it's really weird to me that I can still remember very vividly because I feel like it hasn't been that long since the whole falling out with Kojima and Konami, and then the first news broke about him forming his own studio. I remember him tweeting pictures of like, I opened the office today, and it's like a picture of him in like a tiny office with like a couple desks and a few chairs, and it's like fast forward 3 years, and this like beast of a fucking game
They
exists.
produced a meaty game.
Like, yeah, like part of me going into this, like I didn't know what to expect, like in terms of like length or girth of this game. You know what I mean? Like
I didn't know anything.
And
like I literally barely knew anything.
How is your first project with a brand new studio? This, it's bizarre.
It is.
Like usually it's like, okay, you have a new studio, all right, prove to us that you have what it takes to like let us give you the creative freedom to make this. But instead, they're just like, okay, we know who you are, make this. It's completely unhinged.
It's a scary proposition.
It is a scary proposition, but
to give Hideo Kojima unlimited creative freedom and practically unlimited money to make this game, like. Knowing what he's made in the past, that's just a bonkers proposition.
So can I talk about what's going on in the footage real quick?
Sure.
So just because it's happening as we speak. So I just got this one mission, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to handle it because it is a mission to deliver a pizza.
Yes,
but you can't.
I did this last night
you can't
too.
put the pizza on its side. It has to remain flat. And so I'm trying to figure out the best way. I'm like, okay, well, I can put it in my truck, but then once I get there, how do I actually get it to him? And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, maybe I can put it on my back, but then like it's gonna stack sideways, so I have to put enough stuff on my back so it'll stack flat.
I found a trick to doing it that works every time. If you put a bunch of stuff on your back, and then go into the menu and optimize, and where it organizes everything on your back for you, and then throw it on. It'll always.
So that's what I end up doing. Is I make sure it's the last thing that goes on, so it remains flat.
But like that's the kind of weird like
because I gotta deliver a pizza.
That's like the weird Kojima stuff, like starting to poke through.
Yeah.
So for those, I mean,
starting to poke.
Yeah,
through.
I know. Sorry,
there's a lot of Kojima stuff oozing all over this fucking game's face.
Okay, so for those who are unfamiliar, I guess this is
keep shitting his pants.
Oh my god! The creator of Metal Gear Solid broke off from Konami, made his own studio, and now made this. And he's been talking about this game for so long. And he's been trying to get the whole concept of like a new genre to take off, right? And he's like, this is a Strand game or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck does that even mean? Now that I've played it, strangely enough, I feel like I know what it means.
What the genre is?
I mean, I don't know if I buy into it being like its own genre.
Please tell me what you mean by that, because I still don't understand.
Maybe the genre is delivery game.
I mean, here's the thing.
No, it's not.
Here's
delivery.
the thing: the delivery is the surface level, like what you do. The main conceit of this game, the core mechanic is, of course, yes, picking up packages and delivering them from place to place. But the underlying concept that I think he's leaning on to like establish it as its own genre is this idea of building connections with other players, like in ways that are unlike anything I've ever seen. Like you're not interacting with the world by shooting things. You're not shooting other players. You're not butting heads with other players like you would in most multiplayer focused games, right? I feel like this almost has more in common with like an MMO
or Dark Souls.
Or I mean, there might be some Dark Souls.
Like I brought it up before the podcast, but I think the closest thing that this resembles is Journey. It's the fact that you are interacting with other players, but not necessarily directly interacting with them. It's just they happen to be in the same area as you are at the same time, and they're kind of in the same progression of the game as you. So your worlds kind of mesh into each other,
even though you never actually see them, and like. I would be shocked if Journey was not an actual like major source of inspiration for this game. You're right, because But the thing is, in Journey, like, your interactions with other players were almost always limited to, oh, I see someone off in the distance, and it's kind of like it gives you this sense of being in that world. But that was it. That was kind of like, you know, for the most part, that was your connection to that game. Just seeing them and knowing there's other people out there. This is kind of the opposite. You don't ever see the other people, but
that's why I say like Dark Souls, kind of, because Dark Souls is a very like lonely, isolating game, but then through its online systems,
so yes,
it feels like connected.
In that regard, yes, it is very similar to Dark Souls in the fact that people can leave messages, and like they can't leave messages like you could in Dark Souls, but they can leave signs that say, "Oh, you know, go this way," or you know, do this, or like you know, there's BTs in this area, or something like that.
Well, not only that, but any structure they set up in the game can potentially go into your world.
So yeah, hold on, it potentially can, and that's kind of that's the point. Is it not? You don't get to choose who you interact with. You don't get to choose what structures of theirs cross over into your world. It's kind of like I said. It just kind of depends.
But what is cool is that when something crosses over, when someone's structures or contributions like become part of your world, it's persistent. It stays that way. That is now officially a permanent part of your world. And like a lot of the.
Can I draw like a dick out of road?
See, that's
no.
I
don't
think it is permanent.
It is permanent.
It is.
Like,
well, see, no. If you pay attention to like, if you go into the menus and you look at items and things like that, there'll be like, you know, timefall degradation counters. And so I think that's meant to be like...
I'm more referring to like...
After a certain while, if it's not maintained, it will be completely erased.
I'm more referring to structures. Specifically structures. Like when someone builds like a post box or a part of a road.
Which those can be eroded by timefall.
What Chris Davis is saying is the fact that everything is affected by timefall. Even those. They are affected very slowly.
Even roads?
Yes. If you look at the device you use to create the road, it has a meter of its like health. All of mine have been like super high. Like out of 1,000, they're at like 900 something. So I think it does take a long time for them to be eroded. I think it is such a slow factor that you can probably repair them quicker than it's not a huge deal to repair them.
Like if you'll notice if you've helped build a road, for example, like sometimes you'll get a pop-up message that says Player X has contributed materials to repair X road.
Sure, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. See,
but once again, that has nothing to do with the fact that it's permanent in your world in the sense that if I was offline playing this game and I built something, it would be there until the timefall destroyed it. It's the same thing. It's kind of like what Nick was saying. As soon as someone else has built it kind of intertwines with your world, it is permanent until it gets destroyed for some reason. But like I don't have to build it. Like in this area, Brad, you don't get to choose where the road goes. It's kind of like a set thing. This is the path that's going to run. You can just contribute materials to create that road. Say the road's 8 segments. I maybe built like 3 or 4 of them. The other 4, someone else built, and it kind of just made its way into my world.
And then you all work together to maintain it over
Correct.
time. So, real quick, just to kind of back up a little bit, because this is a very dense game.
Oh,
and
yes.
it's dense.
like any Metal Gear Solid Kojima game.
There's
a lot of elements.
It's Kojima dense. So I feel like there's a couple things we should probably define, especially for people who may not be, be on the fence about playing this, or just haven't played it yet and they're looking forward to it or whatever. To kind of explain a few things, because going into this game, everyone was like, "What the fuck is it?" You know, like it doesn't make a lot of sense, especially from an outsider's perspective, like looking in. And we've seen all these weird ass trailers over time and not had any like real explanation as to what things are. So there's a couple things that I feel like are a good idea to define, because we're going to be using terms like
BT,
BB, and then the timefall.
Yeah.
So timefall is referring to like rain. So like in the world, you'd be walking around when rain falls. Rain in this world immediately starts to age whatever it touches. So
Correct.
when it starts to rain
quickly, right?
Yes.
Very quickly. Like
So like I find it a little weird that people are just doing this. So like, I hope it doesn't splash on my face and all of a sudden I'm an old dude.
I mean, let's be honest.
Like, I'd be wearing like
Yes, correct.
Hazmat suit.
That's a gamey element.
Yeah.
But if the thing is,
it's also like we don't want to hide Norman Reedus' face.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to bring up. I would say
Fragile?
most people you interact with in the world are like completely covered.
Yeah.
I think it's like this. It's just Norman Reedus. It's Norman Reedus. They don't want to hide his face, so you can see his face.
What's with Fragile shitty umbrella? There is no way that's an effective umbrella.
First of all, I just read about her umbrella last night. Because again,
you haven't seen it?
This is no. like
read information like lore.
Kojima, this is so packed full of like. Kojima's very heavy-handed with his lore, right?
Yeah,
we know this from Metal Gear Solid, but he is like let off the leash in this game and has written like this like absurdly complex.
He's written the entire Metal Gear Saga's worth of lore into a single game.
Yes, and to be honest, and some are gonna have
a shit ton,
and some are gonna, and you know, there's criticism to be had there, I suppose, but like it is really kind of impressive how like fully fleshed out this completely original like sci-fi world is, even if not a lot of it makes total sense. But yes, her umbrella, that fragile character, which is this female character that you meet very early on in the game, she carries around this bizarre sci-fi umbrella. It's actually not really an umbrella at all. If you read, you eventually get like a note about the umbrella, and it's talking about how it's actually a conduit that she uses to what is essentially fast travel. She can like she can travel between places in the world in like a blink of an eye, and it's like a conduit that like allows her to do that. But it looks like an umbrella, like a really poorly made umbrella.
She's this is a joke.
Cool.
So don't be offended.
Thanks for setting it up.
She's hot. I can't wait to get her clothes off.
Okay, that is a joke that people who have not played the game are not going to understand. She is a character who was unfortunately
Spoiler.
Basically, I know.
I mean, it's a spoiler for something you learn in the first like 15 minutes of the
it's
game.
at the beginning.
Yeah, you find out very early on that she was unfortunate.
She's an old lady, except her sexy head.
Basically.
Yes.
Yes.
So the time fall is a very real element that not only plays into the story, but also plays into mechanics. So like stuff that you're carrying around your back.
Did they talk about how that happened? Like she was like reaching into a car.
No.
So her head was in the car. And the rest of her was like, no.
They start to go into detail.
No, they talk about it.
That's part of the story. And
she took a bath in Timefall, and her head was sticking out.
No, it's
exactly,
like,
Brad. That's
like,
it.
It's so kind of like dumb. Like one of the little like really dumb like little details that it's just like, so of course Kojima, of course. It's like you actually read something about Timefall, as soon as it like the rain touches the ground, it becomes regular water. Because of course it does. Because then you wouldn't be able to like wade through streams or any of that stuff, and you wouldn't be able to bathe.
This is the exact opposite of the quiet scenario.
You'll be ashamed of your words and deeds.
Exactly.
So hold on. So going Browna in chat asked a question. He said, "Does the age reverse when you get out of the rain?" And so no, and that's one of the elements of this game. Is anytime you interact with rain, whatever ages. So any vehicles you have, they start aging. Any packages, and that's
you actually see plants start to grow out of the ground when it starts to rain.
Correct,
like
because they are aging. They are getting older or whatever. And so the whole point of that is when you go to deliver packages, their quality will degrade, and some of them, if it degrades too much, you get knocked off like points or whatever for that delivery. So the goal would be to keep them as pristine as you can by avoiding the rain when you can, or ingeniously, when you have all those packages stacked, ones that are stacked under other packages don't get affected by it, because the rain's not falling on them. So in theory, if you wanted to, you could put something you don't care about on the very top of your stacked packages, and so everything below would not be affected by the rain.
It's also container repair spray. But anyway.
Again, suspension of disbelief, but it seems weird that they would not have like something to go over the packages in a world where the rain ruins everything.
I mean, he actually does have a cover, but like it doesn't. When you're carrying like 10 packages that are stacked,
it can only cover
high,
so much.
It only covers so much.
It's called a tarp.
Well,
I mean, that's a good point, but
in this universe, tarps don't exist.
Also, you have to realize
and if they did, they'd probably be cool futuristic tarps that would automatically like fit to the packages. But fuck me.
Also, everyone has to realize that we've only played like maybe 15 to 20 hours of this game so far. This is a 60-hour game. That could be an upgrade later.
Maybe.
Honestly,
it
very
get
well
magic
could be.
tarps.
This is okay. So one of the things that's really cool about the progression of this game, and first of all, let me just get this out there, because if anyone's starting to play it now or not yet started, but they're going to. And I've read this several places, and now that I've done it myself, I can't stress this enough. Book it to Chapter 3. Beeline it to Chapter 3. You can always go back to the first area and do all that stuff. But Chapter 3 is where everything starts to kind of make sense and click.
Spell it out, because people have been, like, without going into story spoilers, you tell that to people, and they're just going to get into this game and start playing the game like they're going to play the game. Is that when all the connected world shit starts happening?
It's where you start to unlock, and all these like weirder, like bigger, more broader mechanics start to like become start to be explained.
think of chapters 1 and 2 as like tutorial area. It's just, and this is just like they just give you the game.
Well, think of it as in chapter 1 and 2, you're in the same area, and you can, to an extent, play there indefinitely. You can play there for 100 hours, just delivering packages to places. But if you go to chapter 3, you unlock a lot of new, items and materials and vehicles and all this other stuff that makes your life easier.
And think about it this way too, because the whole conceit of like the story of this game, with very baseline conceit, is that you are trying to connect all of these cities that are scattered across America on this network, right? So you are literally traveling from East Coast to West Coast. You're trying to go from like East Coast to like California.
Manifest destiny.
And you are traveling across this country, and it's a vast open world. But the first 2 chapters are kind of isolated. You play these first 2 chapters, you go through this like semi-large area. Like you'd think this is a massive area, but when you leave that area and go to the next place, it is like 10 times bigger than that at least. And like they start giving you all these new tools and mechanics you didn't have access to in the first one. The story starts to play more of a central role and make more sense, and you start to get the core loop like really starts to like build momentum at that point. Like if you play the first 2 chapters for like 10 hours, you might start to be like, or like even 15 hours, you might be like, is this all this game is? Like this seems really kind of not fun or not what I expected it to be, because all of that stuff really starts to come into play in chapter 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the BB.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to quickly,
BB-28.
before we get to BB, my footage looks kind of washed out. I did not realize that I had HDR on.
Ooh.
And so because of that, the footage does not get captured in HDR, and so it looks actually kind of washed out.
Yeah.
I think this footage will cut here in a little bit, and it'll look a lot different because I turned off HDR.
So BBs are the baby in the
bridge babies.
Bridge babies.
How
Bridge
much
babies.
are they like impacting your kind of moment-to-moment gameplay?
So here's the thing, and this is going to tie in nicely to like what Nolan and I were talking about before the show, and I think this is maybe one of my biggest gripes about the game. It's like the one thing that really just fucking irks me.
Like a 7.0 gripe? Or?
No, fuck off. But like, so the point of the BBs in the lore, whatever, is to kind of help you detect the presence of these ghosts.
They are tools.
These BTs. Yeah, they literally try to distance themselves from them, look at them as equipment, right?
It's not a baby, it's a tool.
Even though it totally is, and they start to form connections to it. But the point is,
no connections.
The point is, the baby is supposed to detect when BTs are around, and BTs are these really creepy, like invisible ghosts that can cause some other fucked up things we'll talk about in a minute. But that is kind of their central role, is to alert you to their presence, right? Yeah. The biggest fucking thing that irks me at this game is that every time you enter an area, and a BT is around, and you get close enough to the BT, it does this thing, that little like arm thing comes off the back of your pack, and it has this like reader, and it like spins around. So
that's actually being controlled by BB.
Yeah, so it's supposed to point you in the direction of where the BT is, because you can't really see them most of the time. Every time it goes into that mode, it takes control out of the player's hand, like slows down like into slow-mo mode, and you see this like intricate like thing where it comes out of your pack on your back and like starts spinning around, and like for like 15-20 seconds
you have 20 seconds. Maybe
it's
honestly probably like 5 seconds. It just feels like forever.
It feels like fucking forever. And when it happens when it happens a lot when you're out in the world, it gets so annoying. And it's one of those things where it's like there's probably a technical reason for why it's like that, but that is what like one of those things that I feel like should be completely seamless. It should just be you're walking around the world, and when you see that thing come off your back, boom, you know there's danger.
I think the more annoying part of it is that most of these BT counters, or at least the ones I've experienced, they're not dynamic. They're static. There are sections of the map where there's going to be BTs almost guaranteed.
There are some places like that, but there's also been several times I've been driving around where I get caught off guard by one that I had never seen in that place before. It doesn't happen very often.
I will say there are definitely ones that, yes, are scripted. They are required to be there. But yeah, there are some I've encountered that I don't think, like, oh, I've never encountered them here before, and I've never encountered them there since. I think it was like kind of a random
What do you
one-off.
think?
And Skipster in chat makes a good point, and like, this is one thing I want to emphasize. And what makes it super annoying is the fact that if you're on a vehicle, like a motorcycle or whatever, and you're driving around, like, you could be cruising, right? It stops you. It brings you to a fucking halt.
Yeah.
And that is obnoxious.
It also kind of doesn't help that you always get like some warning to it because it starts raining.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the BTs can only happen in the Timefall.
Yeah,
they can't happen
I would
outside
kind
of
want
the
them to
Timefall.
not happen in the Timefall sometime.
But that
The lore doesn't allow that to happen.
That's literally the lore.
What do you think Kojima's trying to say about, like, with these? Why are these things babies? What's the metaphor here? Is it
It's not a metaphor.
Is it like your cell phone or something? Like you're so attached to this? Like what is he trying to say?
I think it has something to do with the I think it has something to do with the umbilical cord and like how babies have this connection to their mother and like.
Well, I don't want to get into it too much. There is more there with why those BBs exist,
and I do want to point out
it has to do with their mothers.
I know. There's of course a reason in terms of the lore, and I'm sure there's going to be an NPC that's going to explain it to you for 20 minutes. But I'm saying, like, what do you think Kojima's getting at with this shit?
Well, here, so going
or
back.
I guess
to,
y'all need to finish.
Well, going back, yeah, we do. But going back to what we were talking about at first, when we we're talking about how he's like talking about this is like a new genre, or whatever, and what I was trying to like illustrate, at least the way I'm looking at it, the way I see it, is that this game is all about. Because so many video games are about conflict, about confrontation. This is like the opposite. It's like the importance of human connection is what this game is about. And it's all about like the positive things that come out of people working together for things. Which is, I don't know if it's worth calling that a genre, but that is his message. That is his underlying theme of this game, is that things are better when humans work together to cooperate.
But there is fighting.
There is fighting, but like
combat in this game is maybe 10% of the experience.
I mean, the only thing that you really
exists, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But it's so limited.
So you come into contact with mules, which is another term that you may be like, what? Which is just basically people who are addicted to delivering packages, but they've disconnected from the network and they're fucking crazy, whatever. So you run into these mules who are just out there to steal your packages. So they don't want to hurt you, they don't want to kill you, but they want to take your fucking packages. So when you run into them, you can fight them. You can punch them to knock them out, or you can use a strand, which looks like a fucking rope.
It's rope.
It's a blood rope.
It's
right?
rope
It is a
infused
blood
with your
rope,
blood
yeah.
that you can use to like tie them up and incapacitate them for extended periods of time.
Why does it have to be made out of blood?
Dude, these are there are so
It's
many
a story thing.
There are so many notes and emails and stuff that come through that you have that I spent
I don't have to read that stuff.
you don't have to, but
No, thank God.
I spent like 30-40 minutes just reading through emails
Reading
because
about the blood
I let
rope?
them build up and then I just read them all at once.
Well, no, so yeah, the people you interact with in the world will send you emails, but then there's like, I forget what it's called. There's really like a dump of information, like
Yeah.
logs or something,
Yeah.
that literally just kind of go into detail. And it is interesting because at any point in time you get confused by something, you can just go in there and it's
You can
a
usually
very
find an answer.
straightforward like glossary of definitions of, and it's not just a definition. It's like, hey, this is what this is, and this is why this is this way, and blah blah blah.
I mean, there's still plenty of that stuff that's kind of dished out to you through like exposition and cutscenes, like any Kojima game. But like the fact that you can go through and find specific answers to that thing in the logs is really nice.
These autonomous delivery bots are designed
I also want to talk for a second about BTs, right? And without going into too much detail about
That's the bad guys.
the ghosts,
Yeah,
the ghosts
the
that leave
ghosts.
handprints in the ground, which by the way are
Well,
really
that's one of them. Yeah, there's multiple types.
Cargo transporter
Correct.
bot is
Yes.
liable to get a little
correct.
roughed up if
But
the roads are poor.
yes, so.
On the flip side,
By the way, just being when you have to like cover your mouth and you see like these handprints appearing in the ground, that shit is almost always really fucking cool. Even if some of it's scripted, like it's a really cool moment when that shit happens. But they spend a lot of time talking about void outs, right? So when people die in this game, they transition to the other side, right? Which is this whole game has a lot of stuff happening with like the afterlife, but they're trying to figure out what the essence of death is and what you have a connection to the other side and all this stuff, right? I don't want to go into detail about it because it's way too complicated, but
Not that we even know at this point.
I don't think we have a clear picture of it yet either. But
Like, all I know is that the Death Stranding is an event that happened in the game,
yes,
and everything references it. But at this point, 15, 20 hours in, I still don't know what that is.
That's the ghost apocalypse, right?
yes, but
Kind
like,
of, yes.
But and I'm certain they're like building to explanation about that. But the point is, so very early on in the game, when you're still kind of learning about just like the ropes of the world, or whatever, they mention this thing called a void out. So when people die in this world, they have to be incinerated because if you leave their body too long,
nuke, right?
They basically they explode. It's like a nuclear explosion, right? So you have to burn the body before that happens. So they usually take them outside of the city to an incinerator and burn them.
But you can't just burn them anywhere because when you burn them, it releases
just like toxic
chiral radiation.
Yeah,
that I'm assuming like turns into tidefall or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically
timefall. You want to avoid burning them just around people.
Yeah.
You want to kind of take them out to the middle of nowhere to do it.
Right. So they established this very early on, and they do it clear as day. They even show like the effects of what has happened after a void out happens, and it's like a fucking huge crater in the ground, right? And again, this is not really a spoiler. This is actually a mechanic in the game. I didn't know this was a mechanic in the game necessarily, but like you have this. Like, so your character, who's played by Norman Reedus, has a very special connection to the other side, right? When he dies, he has the ability to find his way back to his body, repatriate, and come back to life, right? That's what makes him special. So I went through like 15, 16 hours of this game where I never died. And I've talked to a lot of people who haven't even died yet.
I've not.
I got kind of caught up in a situation when I was going out to the wind farm, right, which is like a really heavily wooded area, and I got fucked up by a BT in that area, to the point where I actually died. And then it takes you to this like elaborate thing where you have to like swim around, like you're in the same space where you died, but you're underwater and you're swimming around. You have to find your way back to your body. When you find your way back to your body, you come back into the world, and a fucking void out has actually occurred. There's a huge crater. The world is actually affected by where you die. And like not even that, it shows up on the map too. So like if you go far away, it doesn't like come back. That is a permanent space now that has been permanently destroyed in your world. And I'm like, that is like one of the most, if you're not careful, you could fucking like leave craters all over the map.
Well,
so
not really.
Yeah, going to that point, kind of what Chris Davis brought up earlier, I do think there are probably plenty of areas where you cannot interact with BTs for that reason.
That is probably why the BTs are so scripted.
I'm never scared when I'm driving on a road and timefall occurs, because I know there's no fucking way they're gonna make a void out in the middle of like this highway that's been built or whatever, because then that would fuck shit up.
Yeah, that's why probably BTs are actually limited to like grassy fields and non-area. But the thing is, there are you can build structures anywhere. So if someone had built like a post box or something in the middle of nowhere and you got killed out there, you could probably obliterate their other players' structures.
Someone brought something up earlier in chat, and I forgot who said it, so apologies. But they were saying that, you know, when you look at the map, you can see other paths that people have walked, and you can walk on paths and you'll see your footprints that you've left behind. Apparently, if people take paths enough, it will literally carve out a path into the ground.
Yeah, so when you're walking in the world, you'll see these like actual like dirt paths.
Yeah.
Those are all dynamic.
That's fucking crazy.
So like when you first walk into that world, there's not a lot of pathways, like not a lot of dirt paths, but the more you traverse and you walk around, you'll start to see them like you don't see it actually forming, but you'll start to notice more and more paths that are etched in the world, which again is just supposed to be reinforcing his idea of like connection and like building the world through cooperation, and like that actually makes traversing the world easier because the terrain is actually very rough.
There are some places in there that it's almost impossible to get a vehicle to.
Yeah. Exactly. And like trying to get anywhere in this world, like it's so important to like be very careful about where you leave ladders and bridges and all this stuff, because anything that helps you could potentially help somebody else.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is really great. Some of the things that I'm not really into in this game, because I know we probably need to move on. We got to talk a lot, but like a lot of like when you deliver a package, it gives you like all kinds of stats and numbers and things. I can't bring myself to care about what any of those do. I mean, like every once in a while it'll stop and tell me you've reached this, title and this means this for you. I'm like, oh, I know what that means. Thank you. But like so much, you just see all these meters filling up and all these. It is information overload.
I could see that being a point he's trying to make.
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
I'm sure a lot of this is metaphor and allegory and related to things that are happening in our time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe, yeah.
Probably.
Kojima's a fucking artist, right? That's probably what he's doing.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But it is just one of those things where, I mean, like, to build off what you just said, like, the main currency of connection in this world is likes.
Yep.
Everything that you build, everything that you do can be liked by other people.
It's not even a currency. It's just like a level up mechanic.
Yeah,
Well,
you can't spend likes on it.
It's almost like you're
you don't.
rating.
You don't.
You're like describing the world right now.
Like the real world.
Yes.
Well,
Correct.
if Facebook gets their digital currency going, well,
It's commentary on modern social
You're right.
media.
It is absolutely commentary. Like, so I guess maybe a good way to end it, because I know
people
Brad,
addicted to likes.
you haven't played it yet, and to be honest, we could probably talk about this again on another show in 2 weeks and have a completely different long conversation, because I feel like there's a ton of meat in this game. But like, since you haven't started it yet, is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you're curious about that we should?
Brett, before the show, you brought up something and you told me to not let you forget about it.
Oh, in terms of freedom of
like
how you play
transport,
the game.
Yeah. So
like, are y'all having 3 different experiences? Are y'all doing things differently? Like, y'all are watching Nolan play the game, right? Yeah. Is he doing things differently than the way you did them?
Not necessarily. I mean, the thing is,
like, I think
the
equipment or something that maybe, because like you look at, well, I don't want to bring up that later, but I'm just answer my question.
So your question essentially is can 3 different people playing the game have 3 vastly different experiences in terms of like how you
vastly,
approach?
But I'm saying, like, it seems like, and this is where my interest in the game would be in terms of like unlocking all kinds of like tech and gadgets and vehicles and equipment and all that stuff, right? Because that's usually really cool in a Kojima game. I mean, do you get enough of it to where like people might be playing the game differently, or?
I think I don't know.
Not too much
so far. So again, we're still very early in terms of like.
I think all of us are still fairly early.
So I don't know. Even though we've played like 20 hours,
what does this game look like at hour 50?
See, that's what I really want to know.
It probably looks a little bit different than it does.
It is dishing out a lot of tools and a lot of gadgets and stuff to use, and a lot of concepts and mechanics. Like, this is a very mechanic-heavy game. So like, I'm still constantly giving new things to play around with and do. Like in Chapter 3, they introduced the road system, which is a game changer, and like they're constantly giving you new things. But like the core. Or just like the base like loop that we're in, that I think all 3 of us are kind of in the same space right now. So the actual approach to things may be very similar, but like the challenge in getting these packages is one, avoiding the mules, the people trying to take your packages.
Not that they're hard to deal with.
Not that they're really hard to deal with once you learn how to like help me out. What's the word?
Combat
user strand.
Yeah, but you can like the word when they go to attack and you dodge and you can like parry. Thank you. Yeah. When you learn the parrying system where you can like take them out in one thing, not too hard until they show up.
It's not even really a parrying system. It's like it slows down. And you press a button, then you dodge past it. You press R2 again, and it knocks them out.
It's very again combat.
Combat's very limited.
Combat. I don't even want to say the word limited. It's just not the focus. Combat. This is not a game about combat.
And the AI isn't even really that smart to begin with. I mean, they're only based on like pulses of your robot thing and a line of sight, and that's it. If you knock out, I saw a video today. If you knock out a guy like 3 feet behind another guy, they don't even take notice of it. They don't hear it. Mm. They're all practically deaf.
Well, the knockout animation does not make noise, but if you were to like all of a sudden run in a circle real quick near them, they'll hear it. They can still hear.
Do you think it's bad on purpose? I mean, do you think Kojima is trying to say something about combat here? I mean, you were saying yourself that he's trying to make a game that's not about
I think it
combat conflict.
I think,
but it's still in there, and it's not that great. I mean, no Metal Gear Solid 5, it is great. It reminds me of like Mirror's Edge, right? Where DICE makes a game with shooting in it, and it sucks. But they also make Battlefield, where shooting doesn't suck. So it's like they kind of maybe did it that way on purpose because they don't want the focus on gunplay.
I'm pretty sure they did it on purpose.
Is that what it's like here?
It's kind of jarring to go from one to the other.
Sure, but like...
We're trying to go from one to what?
I think it says...
To go from Metal Gear Solid 5 combat,
This is not Metal Gear Solid 5.
But
that's what he's kind of known for.
But that's what I'm saying. He's trying to get us far away from that. I mean, like, it says something about the fact that he spent so many years of his life making a game about military combat to making this, which is the complete total opposite in terms of like mechanics. It still has all of that Kojima bizarre wacky DNA, but like the focus is not combat. Like he doesn't want you doing this.
We're going to keep talking about this game in future weeks, right?
Yes.
I think what Chris Davis is saying is we need to give FedEx and postal workers weapons That's what he's going for, apparently.
America.
I mean, you're going postal.
Here, to answer your
That's
question,
not at
I'll
all
ask
what you're
about
doing.
boss fights next week
Yes,
because
I've only
when
had-
I think of Kojima,
I've
I
only
think
had
of
one.
iconic boss fights. But
I've only had
I've
one.
only
so
had
far.
one as well.
There is an early boss fight.
Let me answer your question real quick, though, as kind of a wrap up.
oh no, the wrap up question is.
Can I answer your first question first?
Yeah,
Get
sure.
this thought out. A lot of the challenge in this game, aside from avoiding the mules, is actually figuring out how to traverse the terrain, right? The terrain is
yes.
very rocky. It's very vertical.
Yes.
So placement of like ladders is and using ropes is very important.
Yes.
So you could take any number of approaches. Like like when you get to chapter 3, everything opens up. Like you can go any direction from what seems like miles. Like it's very, 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 very open. It's very empty in terms of there's no NPCs. It's a very lonely world.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the way the game is designed, but I have not hit like a wall.
Yeah.
I've not like gone somewhere where it's like you can't go farther than this.
And I see those mountains with the covered in snow, and I've seen video of people walking
On
through
those
snow, and I'm
mountains,
I'm wondering if there's, I don't know if there's like a break point in the story where you go to that place, or if you can literally just go in that direction until you hit it. I don't know yet.
I just haven't found a compelling reason to actually go try and push the borders.
I mean, I don't think that's really. I mean, because if you just kind of follow along with the natural gameplay loop, you're not really going to like need to go near the borders. I'm sure he's trying to probably rein you in a little bit and keep you away from those borders, because right now the world feels vast.
It's vast, but it feels so empty at the same time.
I know, but
Well, it's supposed to feel empty.
that's also very intentional, and I think it's actually part of the charm. I think the way the game takes advantage of the world being empty, and also in the way it uses music to emphasize how empty it is really cool.
Seems like there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there is.
So, what's your favorite game of the year featuring a motorcycle?
Can I just fuck you? You mentioned earlier when you asked about can people take different approaches to this. I'm gonna mention something a story Jaeger told in Discord, because I think it's fucking amazing.
Okay.
And that is maybe the best example of like how you can be experimental.
Okay.
Because of course I didn't see this because he wasn't streaming it or anything, but like he said he was able to deliver a package, like a bunch of packages from one point to another, by dropping them all in a stream and having the water carry them down the stream, and then he just raced to the end, like followed it, because there was like too much to carry on his back, so he like raced to the end of it. And I might be butchering the story, I'm sorry, but he went alongside it on his motorcycle, and then when he got to the end, he like stole a truck or something and then loaded it up in the truck. But like he used the river as an actual like means of carrying the packages, and like I hadn't even thought of doing that, but like the fact that you can do that is really fucking cool.
I saw the one clip where the dude fell off the edge of the bridge, or his stuff fell off the edge
Oh,
of the bridge.
Yeah.
Lost
There's so many
everything.
good moments that just happen. I'm just like, no, what the fuck? But yeah, like you said, we'll talk about this game more in the future, because we'll likely all be playing it for a very extended period of time. And I think it's worth mentioning that if you're listening to this,
That was me about to finish a road, so you would have gotten to see it, Brad, if Chris Davis hadn't cut the stream.
I'm sorry.
I said, hold on. I was doing this, and you're just like,
okay.
no.
Spoiler anyway.
let me just say that we've talked a lot about Death Stranding, but there's still a ton.
Oh yeah,
ton to talk
I
about.
think the farthest we
Yeah.
probably are is maybe a fourth.
I think this is this game is most certainly not for everybody.
Oh yeah. Well,
But
I think it's also
Who is it not for?
I think it's
People who
also
hate
a
packages?
matter of you can play it differently. Like I'm spending a lot of time not doing the main story. I'm doing other things in the world that honestly I don't think I have to do. I don't necessarily have to build out this road from point A to point B. I could do the entire story probably without doing it. It would probably be a little more difficult, but you know what? It'd probably be done in half the time.
I think
Seems like having the road is helping.
well, the road helps because it connects the power grid. When you're riding on that road, you don't use battery power.
All your
Also,
vehicles
you're
are
on a
battery
road.
powered.
Huh?
Also, you're on a
Also,
road.
you're on a road.
Yeah.
Of course. Anyways, let's move on. We'll revisit Death Stranding on a future show. Brad, why don't you tell us about your new game, or maybe both of your new games?
Yeah, I have two new
Tell
games.
us, pick one and go.
Last night I played through what's it called?
Love
Sam, which is a game Carlos has been bugging me about playing, and I
And
finally
Chai.
played
Bugging
it.
everybody about.
Yeah, I got Malia to agree to narrate it all. She didn't really know what she was getting into.
I
Because
don't know what this is.
This is a horror game, mostly about reading through a diary in a room, like a very small apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not just a room, but a very tiny apartment, and you're reading through a diary, and it's a horror mystery game. And it's pretty fucking spooky because it starts to do some not really fourth wall breaking shit, but so it's going to be weird footage, right? Because I'm just going to be kind of flipping through this diary. You got to picture me actually reading this stuff, or Malia reading it aloud. But you spend a lot of time looking at this diary, but stuff starts happening. Mm-hmm. And like one of the very first things that happens is you see like in the diary like a phone, and on there is written brr, 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 and then your phone next to you rings, and then you pick it up. Right?
Yes. So like the diary is like kind of predicting what's going to happen.
Not exactly, not directly. It's not that like linear or anything, but like you can imagine it starts to like fuck with you, right?
Yeah.
But like you'll see as soon as I put like the phone down or whatever, like I flip through and I see like a little window, and it looks like there's a person looking through the window in the diary, and then all of a sudden the window in the room like slams open, and it's like raining outside, and it's like fucking scary. And you know, Carlos has been really wanting us people to try this game, and he's been really wanting.
I'm pretty sure he gifted it to me too.
He's wanting Crispy to talk about it on the podcast, and now he wanted. Yeah, so here it is. So wanted me to talk about it on the podcast, but I feel like it is a game that you don't really want to talk too much about. It's one you want to experience, and all I'll say is that this is very scary. Much like Silent Hill 4: The Room can be very scary, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's got like a visual style that could be reminiscent of like PT a little bit. Maybe not as
like for sure, with like the very realistic setting, and it is reading a lot of the story, a lot of the drama, which involves like these high school kids and various relationships, and you're kind of trying to piece together the memory, find out what's what. Again, I don't really want to talk about it.
That's fine. I mean,
but I'll say here. No, I did finish it. It takes a couple hours, depending on how fast you read, right? So, like, yeah, I heard a knock when I got to the knock, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, let's go check the door. Like, this is legitimately unsettling and just straight up scary. Like, it's a scary game. This probably only like 5 minutes worth of footage, right? But I think the next thing I'm gonna get to, you'll see in a like very briefly here, just how freaky this can be. There's you're not really alone, or it feels like you're not alone because you feel kind of like haunted, and there's straight up a ghost that makes like grudge sounds.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's so yeah, you'll see here in a second.
I'm gonna be honest.
This is kind of like the end of the footage. It's a short enough experience, a unique enough experience where I kind of recommend people try it.
Yeah,
kind of like Devotion.
I have it in my.
Which I talked about a couple
I'm
weeks
pretty
ago.
sure Carlos or Chai Tai, one of them, because Chai Tai has also been a pretty big supporter of this game. So one of them gifted it to me. So it's in my Steam library, and I wouldn't mind playing it. Oh my god, what the fuck was that? Yeah, no, thank you.
That was the ghost.
No, thank you.
It's
I like BTs more because they're invisible.
Definitely when you want to play with headphones at night in a dark room. I will say,
perhaps with someone reading it to you.
Yeah, I played this last night, and I kind of didn't want to. I mean, well, I don't want to get into that, but I was scared last night.
Okay. Did you wake Henry?
Oh, did you finish Devotion?
I didn't want to sleep in the same room as my wife because she's got a really bad cough right now, and but I chose to because I was scared, and I regret it because she was coughing all night. I'm sorry. What did I finish? Devotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
How
it's
was
really
that?
good. Like again. Very good. I recommend both this game and Devotion as kind of like, a must play short form
horror experience.
Like horror experience. Hold on. You already fucked over Nolan. Give me a few more seconds.
No, do it. It's the theme of the night.
Footage.
Chris Davis fucks everyone over.
No, we're
hold out for the
so
footage.
here it's literally saying, so turn around. As I'm reading through this diary, I'm literally hearing like a grudge sound behind me right now, and the audio is very directional, and you're just in this fucking room, and it's just like nope.
Was that someone sitting in the tape?
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Go say hi. Maybe they will.
He just turned around. Oh, and she's gone. Okay.
Yeah, so you can kill the footage now, but like I said, it's a pretty cool short little thing. This thing's cheap. I think it's like $5.
It's like $3.
Yeah. So
love Sam.
The other game I've been playing is also.
Hey, my name's Sam too.
Is Same
Has
Porter
no one-
Bridges.
I don't
I've
know
done
what this.
that. Yeah.
Same
Okay,
Porter
so
Bridges.
clearly Nick has not been using the touchpad when you're out in the world.
Oh, you mean for Death Stranding?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm using over-the-ear headphones. I can't hear it. I think the baby. I didn't even realize the baby noises come out of the speaker.
When
No,
you
no,
when
no,
you
no.
use the
Don't
touchpad
do
when you're
that.
out in the world, Sam will like say things.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
other Sams, other players, if they're around you,
Yeah,
like will
I've never heard a response.
I want y'all to
back.
be honest
Oh,
with me.
okay.
Have any of y'all caught an episode of AMC's Ride?
no
No.
You know what kind of show it is, right?
Yeah.
about motorcycles.
Yeah, it's where he rides around on motorcycles.
But it's like a celebrity guest
Yeah.
like shows up, and it's like the
It's like riding. It's like
yeah the
comedians
riding,
in cars getting coffee, but with
it's like
Norman
Reedus
Reedus and motorcycles.
Norman Reedus and motorcycles.
No, I've not seen that.
And
By the way, we didn't even mention any of the.
well, again, we got future
Yeah.
weeks to talk about
because
this shit.
in my opinion, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's true. It is irrelevant to the game.
It's not like
it is-
egregious and awkward.
We didn't
Like,
even mention
the
the
monster drinks don't feel out of place.
No,
The monster drinks
No,
don't
wait.
feel out of place.
Later on, it's beer. You get beer later.
that would make
I
more
mean,
sense
it's
than
like-
Monster.
It's irrelevant. Like whatever, it's a thing. It sits
I'm
on a
not
table.
saying it's
You
gonna
know
like
what-
make
you know what
this
the
game
beer
bad.
is? You know what the beer is?
I'm not gonna say it's gonna make your 9.8 a 9.7. All I'm saying is it's a little weird.
What's
is-
the beer?
The beer's a porter.
Oh God.
There you go.
Of course. We also didn't mention the. So you mentioned the AMC Norman Reedus's Ride or whatever, that show. Like the way they choose to put that in, like that ad only shows up when you sit down and take a shit.
When you're taking a shit.
So is that again?
I
Is
can't
Kojima
wait.
saying something here,
yes, he's saying that show is shit.
or he's saying, modern advertising
They
is
no,
shitting all over?
He's not saying anything. He
games.
just sold an ad spot. That's
It
what he
literally
did.
says AMC on the thing in this futuristic post-apocalyptic world. It says AMC, a current modern television network.
It probably was
It's
a writer.
absurd.
It probably was a writer on Reedus's contract.
I mean,
You got to advertise my show.
No, see, Kojima's not like. I mean, there's no way. There's no way.
Co-
This is him thinking he's best buds with Norman Reedus. He's like, buddy, I'm going to do you a solid.
It's probably the latter, not the former.
the weirdest
Yeah.
thing is gonna be like in 10 years. when
Because
sit down and
AMC doesn't give a shit about this fucking game.
The weirdest thing is me in 10 years when you play this game again and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I already
It's such
say
a
that. It
disposable
already
show,
doesn't
too.
matter to me.
Like at first, I thought like, oh, this is like a Sons of Anarchy show or maybe some like some show that Kojima likes, and this is what made him interested in Norman Reedus in the first fucking place or some shit like that.
That would be
And
The
it's
Walking
like,
Dead.
no,
It'd be The
it's-
Walking Dead.
It's
I'm pretty
it's
sure
some trash.
that
It's
would be
some-
Boondock
It's
Saints.
cable trash.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
true.
You're
yeah,
probably
that's
right. You're probably
Hey,
right.
all those things. suck.
I mean, I'd never seen I'd never seen Boondock Saints. So
What?
And you've played 800 hours
how many
of the
times
Division.
have I said I've never seen X and you've kept on going, what?
I wonder what my best I've never seen is.
I feel like we should
It's
all.
a good viewer question. Somebody asked that viewer question.
Somebody get in
What's
there.
our best I've never seen?
Ask that question on Patreon tonight before we get to that segment.
I've never
All right.
seen.
Do you think you can talk
a
about?
real smile in the mirror?
Do you?
a real smile?
That's fucked up.
That's some Disco Elysium shit.
Guys, we didn't even talk about the pee and poop grenades.
That's true.
No, we didn't.
We got future weeks. No one's gonna be talking about MO Astray next week, but we will be talking about
All right.
Death Stranding next
Tell us
week.
about
Nick.
MO Astray.
MO Astray.
MO Astray. I don't know.
Last week last week. Yeah, my thank you for the week went to Fatal Frame because he gifted me this game. But it's a game that no one knew anything about. Still, you go to Metacritic, there's no reviews. Well, there's one. Finally, there's one unscored review from Rock Paper Shotgun, and they say it's pretty dope.
Dude,
but there's no scored reviews anywhere for this game.
I looked it up today when I saw it was on the dock, just to like kind of familiarize myself with it. And the first thing I saw was like, "Play MO Astray, 10 out of 10 game, marketing 0 out of 10." I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
yeah. And I one of the reasons I wanted to try this game and talk about it because it's like such a sign of the times, right? It is not a good. We do not live in an age where you should put out an indie game because unless you're like kind of already indie game royalty, no one's gonna like take notice. I mean, there's some lucky ones out there, or some games that are like unique enough and like will stand out. And they'll be a success, right? But
Yeah.
but it's so rare. This is a game that if it were like 2012, everybody would be talking about it, right?
Yes.
Because
Probably.
there wouldn't have been a million indie games coming out, or people wouldn't be like exhausted with just how many indie games and video games, and just honestly how hard it is to notice what's out. Like, you can't even turn on Steam, and you can't turn on Steam and try to figure out like what's cool, what you should try out. I did that the other day on my stream, and on the main page I found 2 like porny games with nudity, and it's like, how do you find like real cool shit? But
it sounds like you found the real cool shit. I'm just kidding. It's
pretty cool shit. So this is a kind of a puzzle platformer game with an emphasis on... Man, I need to blow my nose. With an emphasis on story.
Gross.
And...
Wait, emphasis on what?
Story, atmosphere, puzzle solving. Like, this is a pretty cool puzzle platformer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But it has a lot of, like...
You play as a Ditto? Or...
As kind of a blob. And sorry,
are you okay, Brad?
I'm getting over like a sinus infection right now, so
it's
making it kind of hard to talk right now.
Would you like us to pick this up after the break?
No. We'll get through it. I don't have too much to say. All I will say though is that this game is pretty cool, and it's a shame that people aren't really taking notice. Mm-hmm. It is a puzzle platformer. The game that. So it has like Metroid vibes, right? Because you're kind of an alien creature on an alien world, and you play as this little head crabby blob thing that can actually attach to the heads of various living and dead like creatures, corpses around. And I die a little bit here. Again, the platforming and stuff can be really tricky and challenging, almost like Meat Boy.
Hey,
it's
indie
or Celeste.
Challenging indie platforming,
but
games are not, I get it. This was me in like Guacamelee.
But the attention is not for the. I get the feeling, and it's a little bit weird vibe with this game, is that it feels like a game that doesn't need to be really challenging, but it is, or it has spikes of difficulty, literal spikes. Like, you have this life bar, and you find like hidden upgrades and stuff, and they'll increase the amount of life you have, but it almost doesn't matter because pretty much every single thing in this game is going to kill you in one hit anyway. So it's like, why am I getting health upgrades, right? It's spikes that are going to kill you in one hit, and pits that you're going to fall into. So, and that's kind of what makes things challenging. You can change the difficulty like pretty much on the fly, and it'll reset like kind of the room you're in or the last checkpoint, and it'll like oftentimes just reduce the amount of spikes and stuff that are in the room.
Yeah.
Because it does become an issue, not so much when you're doing the platforming, because that stuff's supposed to be challenging. It's good. Like, when the mechanics are satisfying, that stuff's rewarding, right? But when you're in a room solving like a big puzzle with a lot of mechanics and a lot of moving pieces, right? A lot of steps you have to take to solve it, and then when you're towards the end of the puzzle, you accidentally fly into some spikes, and you got to kind of restart it. Even though the checkpointing is really good, that doesn't really apply to when you're solving like a big puzzle, right? So it can be frustrating when there are like a lot of ways to like throw yourself off an edge and just sort of die, right?
Yeah.
So that can be a little frustrating. So that that maybe easy is better for you in that case. But
so there is an easy mode.
There is an easy mode, which again just kind of reduces the amount of spikes in the environment.
Yeah.
It's nothing like egregious. And there's boss fights that are really like cool but like really challenging. And there's one that I was like stuck on when I was streaming like for a while. It was mad. Like, I couldn't believe what the game was expecting of me in terms of like what I had to do to fight this boss. Like, just the amount of like sustained dexterity, twitch dexterity required of the player to finally get through it. But it wasn't bad. It was fun. It was satisfying. So here I am attaching to the head of this dude.
Yeah. So what's happening when that
fucking head off? So you can actually control them when you latch to their head. You can control them. You can even kind of scan them like Metroid Prime. Like again, you get a very atmospheric Metroid Prime-y vibe because you're getting a lot of the story by attaching to creatures and scanning them, and you can kind of read like one of their thoughts when you do it. Like, it'll give you. Did it show me do that at all in the footage?
Yeah, it did.
And you're getting like info about who that person was or that creature was.
That's pretty.
And kind of like their last thoughts. So it kind of like fills in the world and kind of what's going on in the story and stuff by doing that. But you don't have to do that. Some areas there's a lot of like creatures and stuff, so I don't like scan everyone.
I like the visual style. Is this
No, that's the thing. This is like this really beautiful game with like a really that feels fun to play because you have this like kind of double jump mechanic where where you lunge yourself into the air, and then when you do your double jump, you kind of freeze in place and can kind of reorient your direction. And the reason that that's important is because when you launch into your air, you have 0 air control. Think of like an old like Castlevania game or something.
Yeah.
So you have to commit to every jump you make, and you use this double jump to kind of make sure you land in a spot you really want to, right?
Yeah, you get like one chance to correct before you touch the ground again.
Exactly. And you have another version of it that can shoot you further, but you're not going to like stick to walls and surfaces. If you do that, you'll kind of like bounce off, which will cause you to again fall into spikes and stuff. So it makes moving around via platforming and stuff like pretty satisfying because it feels good to do that that double jump thing. And so it feels good to play. It looks
like
really
it's got some
good.
good like physicky puzzles and stuff too.
Like for sure, like that's what I'm saying. Like everything in this game, from like boss fights to like the challenge and encounters, it feels really rewarding. Like this feels like a game that a lot of people would be talking about if
they had marketed
anyone
it.
actually fucking played it. It's not even about marketing. Like, how do you market an indie game these days, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Like it's crazy, right?
It's over saturated. The market's oversaturated right now with indie games, so it's hard to stand out.
And this is, people are asking me like, oh, is this fucking Hollow Knight? And it's sad that
I was joking.
No, you're not the first fucking one, right? It's sad that a game has to be like fucking Hollow Knight levels of quality for it to be noticed. That's absurd, right? Like I feel like if Hollow Knight wasn't literally one of the best games ever, no one would have even been talking about it, which is like a crazy thing to expect from an indie game. Right. No, it's not Hollow Knight, but it is pretty fucking like cool and interesting in its own right, and it feels fairly unique in a lot of ways. This isn't like a big open world to explore. So it's kind of like you're going from area to area, like not level based, but just sort of area based. I don't even know really how to describe it. Like, I don't think you can go back to like previous areas or anything, but I mean that's not really like taking away from it. I saw somebody
like, pixel art too
compare it to like the Swapper, and it kind of reminds me of the Swapper, like a very puzzle based.
I have such a love-hate relationship with that game. It's so good. That game is so fucking good, but God, it is so fucking hard.
Well, I will say none of the puzzles in this game are really that like crazy hard or anything. Like there's no like real brain busters in the game, but like they're still pretty fun to do and pretty rewarding. And maybe that's why I think like sort of the combat and the platforming seems out of place, being as difficult as it can be, because like it's not like the puzzles are like that hard, but it still seems like the puzzles are kind of the focus. And there's mechanics and stuff you're not seeing here in the footage that I recorded, just because that's not where I'm at right now. But there's a mechanic where you kind of like make a clone of yourself, and you're kind of working with your clone at the same time. Again, like the Swapper,
that's literally the Swapper,
which is probably why I was thinking about the Swapper. But yeah, MO Astray, this game that so few people have played or heard of and no one's fucking reviewed, surprisingly, actually may be worth your fucking time. And there's a lot of these.
Just a thought, and again, what you said about how do you market a game like this when it's so saturated, and that's very true. But I also feel like this could be one of those cases where it's like maybe not the best name, maybe not the most memorable name.
Well, sure.
And that might play into some of the struggles.
Sure, but I mean, I don't think fucking name would have saved this thing. I mean, how do you discover something like this, right? If there's no professional reviews of it, I mean, the one review, unscored review, is from Rock Paper Shotgun, which is a reputable website in terms of like respectable writers in indie games get talked about there and stuff. So hopefully some other person with an outlet besides our small outlet takes notice and talks about the game. But it's actually pretty fucking cool, and I'm excited to play more.
Cool.
That fucking
How much
boss
is it?
fight, I have no idea. Fatal Frame gifted it to me. Thank you, Fatal Frame. I think it's like $15-$20, that sort of thing. 15 probably.
Cool. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will talk. I'm gonna revisit Luigi's Mansion 3 a little bit because I've been playing that. And then, of course, we got a few news topics, and we'll answer some questions from our lovely supporters on Patreon and Twitch. So if you have any last-minute questions, get them in. We'll do a supporter spotlight as well. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this short break. everyone. Welcome back to the show. Before we get into news, I want to revisit a game we talked a little bit about last week. Are y'all still playing Luigi's Mansion 3? At all? Bueller.
Yeah. I mean, I intend to.
I didn't get it, so
Nah, you're gonna borrow it from me. After I'm done.
December when I have time.
In December when you have time.
I mean,
all right.
I would say define still playing, because
I'd say-
it's one of those scenarios where like
You play a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah, like it's difficult when I have like 4 games I want to be playing, and so it's often all like, oh, for these like 4, 5, 6 days I want to play this game, and then let me jump over to this one for a few days. So
I had a miraculous. You remember how we were talking about how every time we get in bed to play a game, we just like 10 minutes and we're done. I had a miraculous laying in bed, played Luigi's Mansion for over an hour.
Wow.
Without my eyelids even getting heavy. It was fantastic.
what time of day was this?
This was like midnight.
Oh, wow.
I played until like 1 a.m. It was one of those. I must have been like hopped up on like some kind of like
Cough syrup.
Monster energy drink. I don't fucking know.
You've been
Anyways.
drinking Monsters?
Yeah, I've
lately?
been playing that Death Stranding. I'm just kidding. Luigi's Mansion 3. I've been playing more of this. This game, I tweeted about this yesterday because I hit like a turning point in this game. Because Luigi's Mansion, I love this series. I mean, I haven't played the first one. I love the second one. This is my second one that I'm playing. There's kind of a turning point in the third one where it goes from being just like this really funny, polished, charming Nintendo game to being like fucking brilliant. Like a
brilliant.
fucking brilliant 3D
Whoa.
Mario game.
Okay.
Like better than.
How so?
By being good.
I'm waiting for Brad to finish the sentence. Like what?
Like creeping up on. I gotta be honest. I don't remember that fucking name of that fucking game.
What game? What?
Your zombie biker game.
Oh my god!
Really,
Why are you
Brad?
so obsessed with Days Gone?
Is it
God.
creeping up on Days Gone?
Dude, bitch, no, it's not. Leave me
Oh,
alone. Leave me
shit.
the fuck alone.
Nintendo doesn't even have a chance.
You're like you're gonna spend all year just like trying to like make my top 10 a joke. You son of a bitch.
What? Oh, just the top of it.
Fuck off. Luigi's Mansion 3, like we talked about last week, where you're progressing through the game by getting the elevator buttons, and you're going from floor to floor to floor to floor. And I think it's probably around the time when you get to level 6 where you it's the first like big like theme. Like a lot of the floors before that seem very much just kind of like exploring a hotel, right? And it's just kind of creepy, or you know, just a haunted hotel floor, right? And then all of a sudden you start hitting these floors that are like themed, right? And the first one we hit, and Brad mentioned, I think, is where you've already gotten to, which is like this medieval themed floor, which is actually the demo I played at E3, which is a really cool level. Where you're
that's the first section that's not like just like the mansion.
Yeah, it's totally themed, and then it ends up you having this like gladiator fight with this ghost in the middle of this. There's all these ghosts in the crowd cheering and stuff. And you're fine. Really cool level. But like after that, it just keeps getting better and better and better. Like I've gone to this floor that's like a fucking like garden, and it's weird because like you're on a floor, right? A floor of a hotel. You get into the floor and you walk in, and there's like a tree that like extends up through like 5 floors of shit, and
As
it's like
one does.
yeah, it's just like this is bizarre, but like who cares? It's so brilliantly designed, and just the way each one of all these levels are structured a little bit different, and they unfold differently. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't really gained any more. I was kind of under the impression I was getting more like new abilities and new things, but I haven't really gotten anything new
Still
since
nothing
Luigi.
to spend money on that's worth a shit.
So the things
Gems.
the things that I was spending money on are things that like point that like you can buy like boo detectors and gem detectors, which
I
actually
know.
like pinpoint them on the map.
I know.
I've bought
I
those.
specified worth a shit.
Yeah, no, not. I wouldn't say worth a shit. No.
That's unfortunate. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. They had a really
Yeah.
crunchy loop there, man. The shit would be game of the year, but I feel like Luigi's Mansion is always
But
destined to be.
here's why it still could be
Almost.
game of the year, and I like sure, but like what would you call? Maybe I'm gonna eat crow for asking this, but like what would you call Mario's like crunchy? What was the word you just used? Like crunchy like reward. I mean, you get like stars and stuff like that, but like what's the crunchy?
I guess it depends on the Mario game.
I mean, it's
right?
the same.
But-
It's like the same, but like
but
different
like
context.
Mario is very like secrets based, and like the reward is usually like new secret levels and stuff.
But like all of
content.
like all of those things are just leading to like more satisfying level design. I think the level design is the reward.
I think
but you're still doing those things within these levels.
I think in this, finding the boos and gems are those crunchy things because they are the more complex puzzles and the more kind of fun things. And then, since they are more difficult than the game itself, like finding them, you can use the money to make it easier on yourself. I think that's the point of it. I'm not justifying that that's the only reason. I agree with you. I think you should be able to spend money on other things.
But like the stars and stuff in like a Mario game, right? They are what gating you,
correct.
Or like unlocking secret worlds and stuff. And again, if those gems led to like floors in the mansion that I couldn't get to otherwise, that's huge motivation, right? These are things that are already in like really cool creative level design that you can choose to do or not, and I just wish it would lead to something.
You're right, and again, I'm only about halfway through this game, so there's still time for that to kind of like come to light. I don't know. At this point, I'm kind of leaning towards it's not going to, but I could be wrong. But what I do want to emphasize, it would kind of suck if at the end of the day, the conversation around this game was just focused on you can't buy anything with the money.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not. It's just I'm just asking you the follow-up question from last week.
You're right. And no, I have not found any evidence of anything worth the shit.
The game's a delight. I'm just saying, what separates a game of the year from a not game of the year is in the details, man.
True. But the thing is, you're
Days
right.
Gone has it.
Fuck off. Fuck off. I'm going to call this the Days Gone show just because Brad can't let it go today.
You should go back as a joke and rename every show the Days Gone show.
You know what, though?
Days Gone Show 1.
You know
Days
what, though?
Gone Show 2.
You know what, though? Seriously.
Yeah.
Days Gone's a fucking good-ass video game. Y'all should play it.
Which received an update, its final update.
Dude,
they added Death Stranding content.
They did add Dead Stranding content, and they let you reset the hordes so you can go fight them again, which is a cool touch.
I'm just glad that game was enough of a success that Sony Ben doesn't have to go away like a lot of Sony European studios have to do sometimes.
True. That game is very successful. All right. Anyways, back to Luigi's Mansion. The level design in general is kind of what is the reward here, and like I'm getting to these. The levels are getting more and more and more intricate, and not only that, they're becoming more difficult. Like when I went to record this footage, I ended up starting out the footage in a room that had a puzzle that it took me about 10-15 minutes, sadly, to figure out how to get out of. And I was like, well, I got to start this footage over because holy shit, this puzzle's actually freaking me out, or it's throwing me for a loop. Which a lot of the puzzle work so far up until this point was kind of breezy. But it's getting more and more complex, and they're trying to use Luigi in some really interesting ways. You're having to kind of use him simultaneously with actual Luigi more and more often to do really creative things. And this, it's hard to explain what's going on in the footage here, but
did they just do a Ring Ghost reference?
Yes, dude. So you go to like a level that's like Hollywood themed. And the Hollywood theme, you go to all these different movie sets, and you have to activate the movie sets, but each one is you're supposed to find this like item that lets you unlock something in the next set and it snowballs until you have what you need to get the final item, the button to get out of this place. And it all culminates in this like boss fight that I won't spoil, but holy shit, might be one of the coolest boss fights of the year. Not because necessarily of how you handle it, but just because in terms of its concept and its execution is really fucking good. And I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking like, oh my god, like the level design keeps getting better and better and better. And I still have like 8 levels to go in this hotel. And I'm just wondering if they can keep that momentum going. It's definitely a game that I'm trying to finish this before Star Wars hits because I feel like I can do it. So I'm focusing on. Hopefully next week I'll have something to report on. Maybe I'll have a definitive answer to your question about the worthwhile rewards and that kind of thing. But all I can say is this: if you like games with interesting puzzle design and that Nintendo charm, this game has it in fucking spades.
I've been thinking about it. And the reason that question keeps coming up for me is specifically because I do enjoy getting the gems, specifically the gems, not so much the coins anymore.
Yeah.
But when I'm stumped and I can't figure it out, I'm more willing to just give up and move on. And if I knew there was something I could get from that would benefit me,
no, I totally
or unlock
agree.
something cool, I wouldn't give up.
You're You're right. I have already moved past several gyms that I couldn't figure out. I know it's the kind of thing where eventually maybe I'll unlock an ability where I like, oh, I can probably go back to those floors and clean up those gyms that I couldn't find before. I'm hoping that's the case. But at the same time, I'll also be like, what exactly is my incentive? I hope if there is an incentive, they make it clear sooner rather than later what that incentive is, because it needs to be there for me to actually bother going back. The one complaint I will say I have, aside from the incentive thing, is there's been 2 scenarios in the last couple of nights that I've been playing where I got stumped in a room.
Is it this one?
No.
You say I'm stumped,
no.
Nick.
Well, I mean, this whole floor was really just a really hard thing to kind of wrap my head around, which is good. I actually didn't solve.
It's got to be her hair.
I'm glad I didn't solve this puzzle necessarily in the footage.
Cool. I'm trying not to watch.
It would spoil it. I know. I walk around like an idiot trying to figure this shit out. This is a really complex level to kind of wrap your head around, but when you do, it's really fucking cool. But there has been 2 scenarios where I got stuck in a room to the point where I was like, I'm going to look this up. I can't figure this fucking shit out. And I looked it up, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Both times, it was something that, like, was in the environment that I couldn't tell what it was. Like, there was one I thought was literally a concrete wall. It was actually a curtain. Oh. But I couldn't even tell. It just looked like a flat gray surface. So I thought it was just a thing, which I'm sure is probably part of the point. But, like, it was really annoying because, like, it really just expected you to walk around with the vacuum, like, vacuuming every little thing to figure out what that was. And I was like, that's kind of cheap. There should have been something there to hint you, like, have a little breeze, like, occasionally, like, make it move a little bit so you can tell, like, oh, that's something I can interact with. So that was the fact that I even had to look something up in this game is really frustrating to me. But the puzzles are getting better. The level design is getting better every floor I go to. It's a really fucking cool game. It's also super solid in terms of polish. Like, it's a first party Nintendo game, but it's not a Nintendo game that is developed by what's the developer? Next Level Games, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's not an internal Nintendo studio, but, like, you wouldn't know it from this game. This game is so fucking polished.
What did they make previously?
Dark Moon.
Oh,
Luigi's
really?
Mansion, okay. Dark Moon.
They were once going to make a Metroid game.
Well, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do. They really, like, you don't really see many non-first party Nintendo games that are this fucking polished, and it really shows.
Have you touched on any of the co-op?
No, I haven't. Robin wants to play this herself, so she's actually, like, when I'm playing it, she's like, oh, I'm leaving the room. I don't want you to spoil anything.
They made the Mario Strikers game. So.
They made Mario. My fucking roommate's in college.
That was a Punch-Out game for Wii, which was really cool. Oh, and the critically underplayed and underappreciated Metroid Prime Federation Force.
That was sarcasm.
Okay.
All right, that's all I want to say about Luigi's Mansion 3. It's a dope-ass game. Let's talk about some news.
They actually made that underappreciated Captain America game from last gen.
Are you being sarcastic?
I'm being serious.
Yeah, that was...
You know what I'm talking about?
Bad.
The one that's actually supposed to be pretty good.
The one based in the movie?
Yeah.
That was actually good?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's expensive now because, hey, guess what? It was actually pretty good.
I had no idea. What an interesting history, going from Captain America to Super Mario Strikers to Luigi's Mansion. It's kind of a... And then there was another one you mentioned.
The Suffering?
They did The Suffering? No.
Yeah.
Maybe a port of The Suffering.
I think they did a port of The Suffering, because The Suffering was not Next Level Games.
I don't remember who made The Suffering.
Neither do I, strangely enough.
Their names are the sound familiar.
That's also a game that's on the polls, or not currently on the polls, but, like, up for consideration for a future Revival Club, and I hope it wins sometime, because I want to go back and play it, especially the second one. All right,
Surreal Software.
Thank you in the name of Harmon for subscribing. We appreciate it. All right, let's move on to news. Not a ton of it this week, but some stuff maybe worth discussing. We can start with the Death Stranding related news, and this is actually Kojima Productions related news. Mm-hmm. So we all know Hideo Kojima is a
fan of the film.
A fan of film. Some
definitely.
might say almost too much, because it influences his games pretty heavily in terms of...
If it wasn't for film, Metal Gear Solid wouldn't
I know,
be what it is.
I think in all honesty,
some might say.
I think in all honesty, people are just now seeing it more. I think mainly because he fucking tweets about it all the time.
Yeah.
In all honesty, looking back on all of his games, you can see, film having some role in almost every single, like, part of them.
Honestly, I think it's great. It's a lot of, like, the special guest appearances in Death Stranding are actually directors, which I think was pretty interesting. Like Edgar Wright's in there.
The reason I think this is news,
Guillermo del Toro,
a news conversation is, what do y'all think?
Well, I haven't even said it yet.
I
haven't even said it yet. So Kojima Productions Hideo Kojima has said in the future, Kojima Productions is going to also make movies.
Do you think he has the chops to make a feature film?
I think he has the chops to make a feature film. Whether that feature, the thing is,
because of the way he tells a story.
He has a very heavy-handed way of telling a story, and will that, like, some would, there's arguments to be made either way as to whether it's successful in video games. Because some might say it's too heavy-handed, some say it's fantastic.
He can keep the heavy-handedness, in my opinion, if he doesn't do films, but he does like limited series.
He needs to trim the fat, though.
Well,
if
so
he's
hold on, take a step back. You can't compare a movie to a video game. They're completely different mediums for telling stories, how you interact with the story. So I don't think if Kojima were to make a movie, it would be anything like his games.
Sure,
because
but he has
you can't.
A style.
I understand he's a style, but I'm saying you can't make like a movie that, the story will slowly unfold over the movie that lasts 30 hours. Because the movie's going to be fucking max like 2.5, 3 hours if he wants to go insane.
Yeah.
I'm sure their first movie will
But that's the thing. Does he have the restraint to be able to keep a story down to 2 hours? Well, I mean, it's going to be
I think he's going to have to. Movies are really fucking expensive.
So first of all, him, as much as he loves movies, he is a game director and writer first, and that's where he has all of his experience. So if he's going to cross that threshold and start making he's going to have to look to other people for help.
Oh, of course.
He's always been very, very like focused and like he knows what he's doing with video games. But if he's going to make a movie, he's gonna collaborate. He's gonna have to
friends
collaborate.
are big directors. So.
I mean, maybe that's part of the reason why he was like, come be in my game, so I can start like making buddy with these people and maybe collaborate with them on a future movie. Like that would be, I mean, it's not super far fetched. I think that's possible.
But does he make like this? It's got to be like science fiction.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure. I love science fiction
or some sort of.
It's also
future.
It's also probably if you look at his like Twitter and stuff, you could probably like figure out the cast of his movie pretty quick, because it's no surprise like when he finally got the opportunity.
Main character has to have a mullet.
I mean, are we talking live action or are we talking CG?
I think it's going to be live action.
Probably live action.
Yeah. In fact, it might be an adaptation of Death Stranding.
How do you?
Or continuation.
They're putting so much star power into this fucking game that.
So like,
that
does
may be
anybody?
their focus.
I have not been, my world, right? I have not been I did not have my finger on the pulse of like maybe how this game is selling. Does anybody have any idea? Early word.
I don't think they've said.
I don't know, to be honest.
Japanese sales, those release every week. Although I know that's only Japan. Also UK.
Number one in the UK says "Bring to Raucous."
What would that be competing against though?
I mean, just keep in mind it's only the first 5 days.
It's also we have Pokemon dropping in less than 3 days, so
and then a Star Wars.
I think a big topic of conversation isn't just how good this game is, but how successful it is. Right?
Yeah.
It being his first big thing away from Konami. Sony put a lot of money into it.
It's also
did Kojima make a financial success?
I mean, also he's somehow managed to get. It's going to release on PC next year on both Steam and Epic Game Store, so he's got a lot of goodwill going into the PC port already. So,
according to this Eurogamer article, it's the second highest selling game of 2019 so far,
after Call of Duty.
Yes,
okay.
According to a Eurogamer.
Yes, I don't know if this is isolated to Europe. I'm trying to find out, but
either way, that's still a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So we will see how that turns out.
I think one of the problems with him transitioning to movies or any other medium is that his method of storytelling in his games is always focused on the main character being in the room and learning as the player learns.
Lots of exposition
and a lot of exposition. And what he's going to have, I think he might have trouble transitioning to, is having multiple scenes where that main character isn't involved and that storytelling is taking place away from them.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely possible, and that's another reason why I think he's going to have to collaborate with people with more experience.
Can you think of a film director or I don't know film that is maybe the closest thing you could think of to Kojima's style?
Ooh,
like can you think of
Jordan Peele?
What?
Wait, what?
I'm just saying that kind of psychological.
Well,
like
I could see why you would say that in terms of just like really out there ideas.
Yeah.
like
Us
both
was pretty
both
out there.
Us and Get Out were both really creative concepts for a horror movie, right?
Yeah.
Like not your run of the mill horror concepts. I could see that approach, but definitely not as stretched as far. Like when you start thinking about like just how fucking heavy-handed and wild his ideas are. But like, yes, thinking outside of the box, I'd say Jordan Peele's a good pick.
Sure. I just want to. I was googling Death Stranding sales, and like these fucking articles, and Google just came up with a bunch of different articles. Let me just read these four. Death Stranding sales beaten by Days Gone and Call of Duty in latest UK charts. Days
Gone.
Yeah.
Days Gone is...
Next article. Death Stranding sales fail to reach Days Gone heights. Next one. Death Stranding underperforms in the UK. And then this other one's like, oh, Days Gone beats out Death Stranding beats out Days Gone.
Days Gone has been one of the biggest selling games.
But I'm saying there's like articles that are contradicting each other in this thing, and I'm like, well, they need
I think
to
it's
make up
probably
their fucking
it's probably
minds.
because they're looking at
We'll
two
have to wait
different...
for MPDs. I'm still shocked that Control bombed as hard as it did.
Yeah. Did we ever see the final like?
It didn't. Well, we know that it didn't make the top 20 games on the MPDs.
How in the fuck?
Well, new IP for number one. Number two, it didn't have that much of a marketing campaign.
20.
Are you kidding me?
Top
Wait,
20.
I don't think
what
it
didn't
had
make
that
the top
strong.
20?
Control. No. This was top 20. Astral Chain was like number 7. Okay, look.
I'm just saying.
Top 20 is like hardly any games sold.
Maybe Black Friday can help that push
I
that
still
along
want
a
to
little
play
bit.
Astral Chain. You got to hook me up with your Epic Game Store account.
You mean Control?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just Control, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not playing anything else on it, Nick.
Do you not just want to borrow my disc for PS4?
I have a PS4. I want to
right.
play it on my PC.
I have to give you my Steam or my.
That's it.
Welcome to my world.
How are you not more comfortable with that than giving me a physical game? You love your physical games.
do.
I could fuck up your physical game.
I know.
He has a child.
I don't
now.
know. I don't understand. I don't know why I'm like this. Why
We
am
did
I
the
like
same thing with Steam, essentially. You know?
Okay. I don't even know if you can do that, Brad. We had this conversation. Like they can't.
I mean, surely you just, you get a fucking email code and you just text it
Let's
to
talk
me.
about it off the show, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it's possible.
Oh my
Let's
god.
move on.
All right.
Shut up, Carlos. You've been a Debbie Downer on so many games this year that like you were excited about. Then you finally played them and you're like, I need y'all's excitement to get me to play games. You guys are my peers. You are the ones that are supposed to say, I played this. It was cool. Play it, Brad. Every single game Carlos played this year. And you were too with fucking shitty ass Metro and the Rats game.
What the fuck did you just say?
Wait, Brad. Why do you keep telling me that I made you think Metro Exodus was not good? Metro Exodus, I was over here singing
Because
praises.
you said, "Oh, it's good. It was fun. I like the story. Let's move on."
That is-
you gotta sit there and you gotta make a
That-
compelling argument.
that
So
is
say
not
something
true.
interesting.
That is
If he
not-
doesn't make it at least an 8 out of 10 argument for you, you're going to ignore the game?
8.5.
Dude, okay, first of all,
Wow.
first of all, fuck you. Go back and listen to that podcast. I guarantee you I didn't say that.
You know what? Maybe I'll download it and listen.
Second of all, like...
Cool.
Oh my
Choose
God.
your words
I
to
know,
describe
I'm
the
stopping myself.
veracity of this man.
I'm stopping myself. Metro Exodus is a fucking fine game. You want to know what this
Fine, like fine as in
fine game is in
it's
like
fine.
it's an excellent game.
so
or fine like a fine wine.
me being like the fucking nerd that I am, I on a weekly basis I go through and I kind of look at my current top 10 for the year and I think if anything's moved around or whatever.
Is it on there?
It's still on there. Metro Exodus is still in my top 10 for
Is
this
it
year.
better than Luigi's Mansion?
Dude, I don't fucking know. Don't fucking ask me. I haven't finished Luigi's Mansion 3.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Do you think I should
Next
play
news topic.
Metro over Death Stranding?
Dude, the jury's still out on that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about all the times, Brad, that I've had a conversation with you about a game where we have two totally different reads on it, and it comes down to I fucking love something, but you're like super impatient when it comes to the things that I love about a game. And I'm thinking about all the things that I love about Death Stranding
If I'm feeling
that I feel
your-
like you're gonna get really
See,
tired
here's
of.
the thing. I'm feeling your passion about Death Stranding.
Why don't you?
it, right?
Why don't you feel it about Days Gone?
Oh well, because Days Gone looks stupid. But I'm saying,
Fuck you, Brad.
I wasn't.
Fuck you.
When it comes to like Metro,
Middle fingers out.
you weren't like radiating love for Metro
Yeah,
or
and
Plague's
fuck my
Tale.
opinion. Fuck my opinion. Never
Well,
mind
you
about
probably
that.
weren't even on that podcast. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
I don't
was.
have to be on a podcast to give you an opinion.
I'm also pretty sure we made sure that he was on that podcast
That's
because he's the
probably
resident Metro
Fine,
expert.
I'll go back and listen to it, but I don't think he was on that podcast. But maybe
Says the guy with the best memory.
Maybe I wasn't on that podcast.
Maybe you weren't.
Maybe that's it.
Somebody go find out if Brad was on this goddamn podcast.
Yeah, someone find out. Maybe I wasn't on the
Go to
podcast.
4playernetwork.com, go to our
That'd be
podcast
crazy.
page, go back to where we talked about Metro, and somebody, please, for the love of God, tell us if Chris Davis was on the show and if Brad was on that show.
I don't even want to play Metro. I don't even know why I'm talking about this.
Maybe that's the problem. You just don't want to play Metro. Like, you just don't want to. You piece of shit. Let's move on to the next news topic, a little more lighthearted.
Carlos was there.
Oh my God. Sonic the Hedgehog, all right? Can we talk about this for a second? Have y'all seen it? They redesigned it.
Yeah.
I've seen
It
it.
looks a lot better.
It
for
looks
sure.
a lot
So
better.
much better.
Talk about night and
Yeah,
day.
it looks like trash.
like Sonic.
But here's the thing. I saw someone make this point, and it's absolutely what I was thinking as soon as I saw this, and I was like, "This is disappointing," because I wanted to watch this movie and have it be this absolute cringy train wreck, right? And it's the thing is now it's going to be just a boring.
Yeah, now it's just
bad
gonna be a
movie.
mediocre-
It's going to be a boring bad movie instead of a fun bad movie, because
true.
it just looks like Sonic.
It's very true.
Which is fine. It's Sonic fans are already jerking off, like fucking hardcore. In fact, they were probably already jerking off to the weird looking one because they're Sonic fans, right? Not all of them. Not all of them.
I'm pretty sure
but
just
there's
the
a
furry
subset.
Sonic fans.
There's a subset of Sonic fans.
Yeah, the
like,
furry Sonics.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Not some of them aren't even furries. They just jerk off. But I saw a thread on Era the other day.
That sounds like most people.
I saw a thread on Era the other day and it was like, dude, what is just post like, in your opinion, the sickest fucking character design in video games. And everyone's posting like sick ass character designs of like sick looking dudes, right? Whatever.
And ladies.
And then like every other post was someone posting Sonic. And it's like, you're one of those, man. You're one of those.
Yeah.
People are posting like, dude, the fucking dude from like Persona, that dude just wicked cool. And then fucking Sonic. Like,
Is Sonic eating a chili dog?
oh my god.
There might be
probably
a joke there.
He's probably given a chili dog to
Tails?
Tails.
What are we talking about now?
You don't know what chili dog is?
Oh, Nick.
He didn't watch the original cartoons.
Nick.
No, I'm not talking
That's
about the
not what Brad's
cartoons.
talking about either.
Oh yeah, I know.
Although someone's probably made some
just framing
fan-made
it.
cartoons
I'm just
of
framing
Sonic
it.
giving a chili dog.
What's the pink Sonic?
Amy?
Amy? Is that her name?
Amy?
So to Amy?
Guys, what?
I
Giving
guarantee
Amy a
you. I
chili dog?
guarantee you. Someone check right now. Someone find some fan art or maybe full blown anime porn.
do this.
Please don't do this.
Don't do this.
I bet someone can find a picture of Sonic giving a chili dog to Amy.
Okay, first of all, I feel like
Don't do this.
I feel maybe I'm feeling a segment idea coming on where it's like
We look at Sonic porn.
no. It's like a porn. What do you call it? Where you like describe something, and then the challenge is for people to go out and try and find exactly what you're describing, but you're not describing something you've seen. You're just making something up, and it's like find the closest thing you can find on the internet.
Okay,
because
first
you know it
Urban
exists.
Dictionary chili dog. Then search Sonic gives chili dog to Amy. Amy? Is that right? I don't
Yes,
know.
it is
Sonic.
Amy. It is Amy.
No!
All right.
Don't do this.
Nothing's immediately showing up.
All right.
It's there. But see, that's the thing. Maybe it's not, right? Because Sonic fans, they respect those characters so fucking much, right? Like, I would never do that to Amy.
All right. I'm looking up
great.
chili
I
dog.
love it.
Do you want me to read
Gives me
Do you want me
life.
to read the Urban
It gives me life.
Do you want me to read the Urban Dictionary definition of chili dogs?
If you
This
want
is a family
to.
show.
Okay. All right, hold on. That can't be.
I
right.
didn't say you had to go that far, Nick.
Oh, okay, maybe I don't want to read this.
Maybe don't read it.
You're already too far down the well.
The Soup
my
Nazi
God.
found it. The Soup Nazi found it.
Really?
Yes.
This is
Maybe he's binging it or something.
Probably.
Or he just opened up a
Just
folder on
don't
his computer.
leave our audiences in suspense. You can cut this out.
No,
but
no, no,
either
no.
way, just
This is. There are a few.
Let me see it. Let me see it's the same one. If it's the same
I'm
one.
pretty sure that's
Pretty
the
sure
one
it
you're thinking
is.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me see.
Oh, okay. You just unplug my phone.
The way he says "yeah" with no emotion.
It involves.
Like, yeah, I'm aware of this.
It involves poop.
Soup. How do you? What
I've
did,
seen
what
this
did,
with tits before.
What
as
did you
well.
search?
I have not seen it. Trust me.
Well, oh
I'm
wait.
not into that sort of shit.
I thought that's what it was generically with. I thought that was how it happened.
This one's with butt cheeks.
Oh, I guess I could see it.
Oh, here we go. This one, the second one.
Yeah.
That's the one I commonly know.
I can't read this. But just so you know, this is gonna go right up there with what was the other one where I felt like my innocence was being taken on this on the
You
show.
know what, let's move on.
Oh,
I'll wait.
Urban. Sorry, Soup. You found
Docking, right?
You found what it is. I was looking for Sonic and Amy with this.
Yeah, or Big the Cat, whoever you can find. Some Sonic character.
I just want you to know.
Why not Dr. Robotnik?
So in the overlay,
That's
This is gonna be a
no.
hot and
I love how we so the news topic was here was Sonic the Hedgehog movie reveals new and quote unquote less disturbing design for the titular title character, and this conversation has been incredibly disturbing.
It's definitely less disturbing.
Can I?
It just looks a
offer-
little cheap, though.
Can I offer a nice thing about this news topic? Maybe to get us to move on. Among the people they brought on to do the character redesign, they got the lead opening animator for Sonic Mania to do it, and he evidently
Someone who is familiar with the character.
actually knows the property.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty fucking cool.
I found a picture of Sonic giving a chili dog.
Oh no.
Oh, it's like a Christmas chili dog.
Let me see this.
He's giving it as a gift.
He's literally giving someone a chili dog.
So, is there a reason the chili dog thing is like associated with Sonic specifically?
The Sonic
Yes.
cartoon
Yeah,
show,
he ate
Sonic
chili dogs.
ate chili dogs all the time.
Oh.
That was his favorite food, was
Yeah.
chili dogs.
Okay, I'm glad the connection
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It probably made no sense otherwise.
Yeah. it
Robotnik
didn't.
would set traps with chili dogs to trap Sonic.
Okay, gotcha.
And when I was a kid, I wanted to eat chili dogs.
Way to ruin everything about Sonic's animated TV show. All right.
There were two actually.
The point of this news topic, guys, despite everything we've just talked about, which I don't condone searching for on the internet, you should look at the redesign for the character. It's really interesting. One thing is amazing.
I
Like,
don't know. There's this one, Brad.
so the trailer came out how many months ago? Like 4 or
It
5
was,
months
it was
ago.
several,
It
yeah.
was like
Yeah.
March, I think.
So you're telling me they went back and they redid all of the fucking CG shots in this
Yeah,
movie?
why not?
That's impressive.
well, I mean,
And
when
it
you
makes-
only have to edit a model,
No,
No, it's
it looks like they drew it over the old one.
I definitely guarantee you they did not draw it over the other
no.
one.
It's just it's a
No.
3D model. They just
Yeah.
had to probably replace it, but it's I'm sure it's
But
more
a lot of
complicated.
the effects
It's
were
a little
already-
more complicated than that.
Because you also
but
have to
yes.
account for how like the surroundings on every scene like affect shadows and and
yeah,
everything.
but since like
Unless
90%
you're
and
shading
interactions with the actor and everything.
yeah, but since 90% of the geometry is basically the same, like all you
He's-
really have to do is a
he's
whole lot
thicker.
of rigging.
He's thicker.
I guess
He
so.
is thinner in some part. He definitely skipped leg day, but that's the point. Sonic has skinny
Anyways.
legs.
Uh,
We've talked about Sonic for way too long.
But I mean, there's probably
Crispy's
a
in chat
lot
says
of
Sonic
scenes
just
where
isn't in the movie that
They didn't
much.
have to redo it. Like the ones where he's like just like a ball of lightning bouncing around. And stuff,
Yeah.
They probably didn't have to redo any of that.
Probably
yeah,
not.
you didn't have to do anything there.
All right. Well, the movie still looks bad.
That's a lot of money.
Let's
to
move
spend.
on, shall we? Why don't we answer some questions from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch?
We can do that.
By the way,
if that's what you
We
want
do have a supporter spotlight this week, and it's I'll do it after we do the questions. But the supporter spotlight is River Plus A.
River Plus A.
That is such a weird name. River Plus A.
River Plus A. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get some questions from our patrons. First question this week from Mr. Green Toast.
Ah, yeah.
With Death Stranding out and the public finding out the main loop is to deliver items far and wide, I wanted to ask, what is the longest distance you took in real life to deliver an item somewhere?
Stop showing this shit, Brad.
What
Get
is
it out of my face.
Oh, dude. Have you heard that one, though?
Yeah, the sound.
That video essentially is someone playing the Sonic theme, but on like a recorder, but like very poorly.
And there's just some dude in a fucking Sonic costume, like basically just like trying to eat a chili dog in one.
But he's
fell
also
swoop.
in a wheelchair, which is kind of the point.
It's a disgusting looking Sonic.
Fucking god.
All right. Anyway,
We had a question.
what's the farthest we've traveled to deliver?
So if
something?
you're delivering like Christmas presents, does that count?
you literally does delivering something count as delivering something?
Like
yes, it counts. That's
Like if you're traveling across the country with family and you've got having to have Christmas
No,
presents packed
no.
up.
That doesn't count. It has to be. It has
the
to.
the point of the trip was to deliver.
Yeah,
something.
you have to be getting into a car or something to go somewhere with the express purpose of
taking
delivering
something
a
from
package.
point A to point
Can you
B.
be delivering a person?
I mean, if you're the transporter.
I once had to take when I was in a previous relationship, and I had to take a girlfriend to the airport.
Women aren't packages. Nick.
No, but no. Let me hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Hear me out for a second, because
Human
it was a
trafficking.
long distance relationship, right? So a lot of it was about like, all right, so what's the best way to travel between and see each other and save some money, right? So like sometimes the closest, the cheapest flight and the best time was in like Dallas. So I once had to drive her to the airport in Dallas. I literally drove her to the airport in Dallas and then came home.
Oh my!
Yeah. Sounds like a boring
That's
trip.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had music and podcasts. That's always fun.
Deliver something I've had to deliver.
Well, he says human trafficking confirmed.
That's a tough one.
I mean, I've helped people move to other cities.
Crispy's in chat. I delivered a carload of my shit from Florida. Oh, you moved. He fucking moved.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a
That doesn't
delivery.
count. Oh man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, because like every time, like I don't feel like I've ever like got like. I think the most apt thing would be like getting into a car to deliver like Christmas gifts or whatever. But I've never like literally gone somewhere to deliver Christmas gifts, but not also do something else, right? Like I've thought about like when we come to do the show and like exchange gifts, but we're always coming to do a show and exchange Christmas gifts. You know what I mean?
I think
Spirit of Death
like
Stranding.
I mean I'm trying to think of like just traveling, and honestly I think the probably the farthest I've gone to deliver something was, I think it was in Bernadette was in like the last few years of her school, and I don't know if she's in rotations or just in the last few years. And I drove
delivered his package. I'm sorry.
I drove from Austin to San Antonio because she had to do the last couple of years of school in San Antonio. She was having like a tough time, so I brought like some flowers and food or something for her.
There we go.
I guess a delivery.
I think that counts. I mean, none of us are delivery people.
Yeah, we're not porters.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next question this week.
Is Death Stranding just that Kevin Costner movie kind of?
The Postman?
The
Postman.
Maybe.
Post-apocalyptic society. He's trying to reconnect people with
Basically,
with
but
the
in
mail.
New Zealand.
Next question from Zero Skies. What is the earliest date you were willing to accept Christmas music to start playing?
Oh.
December 1st.
After Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
After Thanksgiving.
The day after Thanksgiving.
The loose answer for me is the day after Thanksgiving, but even then, it feels like super.
Well, the best thing.
It's like, can you not wait a couple days?
No, you want the sleigh bells jingling as people are punching each other on Black Friday in the face because they're trying to get shit, and you just hear that Christmas music in the background.
And you're supposed to decorate after Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah.
That's the capital.
So yeah,
answer.
the day after Thanksgiving. Although I'm going to be doing Christmas shit before Thanksgiving, which is
What?
I know.
Because of
I know. We don't put up our Christmas.
She already watched Elf as soon as November 1st.
What?
Hit.
No!
She already watched Elf
That's-
with Henry.
That's highly inappropriate.
Well, first of all, Elf is a year-round movie.
Sure.
The question is,
Has
when is she going to watch
Die-
Jingle All the Way?
I was gonna say Die Hard.
We'll watch them all.
You're gonna watch Jingle All the Way?
Yeah, we like Jingle All the Way.
That's like the time
That's a classic.
That's like that time I caught Robin watching Groundhog's Day, and it wasn't Groundhog's Day. I was like, "What are you doing?
What?
Nobody-
You can watch
What?
every day's Groundhog.
You don't
Day.
watch-
Day any day.
You don't watch Groundhog's Day unless it is Groundhog's Day. That is the rule, as far as I'm concerned."
Remember the VR sequel to that movie came out this year?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Did anybody play that?
No, I haven't.
All right, let's move on. Next question from Villasaurus. What is a game that stands out because of one or a few?
Yawns.
Yawns?
Sorry. Good aspects or systems. I'm really hyped that Dragon's Dogma won the poll for Revival Club game since it's a game I've gotten into recently. But it is really lacking in a lot of areas. The story, characters, graphics, and a world ranging from terrible to okay. But the satisfaction of setting myself on fire to mount a Cyclops makes me forget all about that. Dragon Dogma's combat, class, and pawn systems are some of the most satisfying in any RPG I've played in recent memory. So I mean, yes, that is you answered a very good example of a game that there's a lot wrong with it. The story itself is fairly boring, but those gameplay mechanics just like take you a long way. And Slade, Dragon's Dogma definitely lacks in graphics in its original release. Some of the newer like re-releases, they do look a lot better.
Yeah, I feel like he's also going to get some pushback from certain people about the world and the story and all that.
And the problem is not the world.
The story
itself.
is definitely boring.
It's that the world kind of makes you go through like kind of the same areas over and over.
You do a lot of backtracking.
It's a flawed, it's a 7.5 that feels like a 10.
Yeah.
That's what Dragon's Dogma is to me. But
State of Decay. This is an
State of
example
Decay. There you go. Yakuza is an example of like all of its like mechanics and combat and like all the gameplay elements. I don't even really like, but basically flip flop what he said about Dragon's Dogma. That's how I feel about Yakuza. Like, the weaknesses of Dragon's Dogma are the strengths of Yakuza, and vice versa. So,
well, that's the same thing with like The Witcher. Like the story is fantastic, where the gameplay itself is kind of mediocre. Yeah. Like fucking combat in that game is kind of shitty.
Specifically the combat, because I feel
I say combat is super shitty for a game about a guy who does combat. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's his shtick.
Like,
as he goes around.
3 games to get it right.
Y'all mentioned.
It took 3 games to get it not bad.
Y'all mentioned the combat in Witcher 3 a lot, but like.
And maybe I'm
just wearing rose tinted glasses when it comes to The Witcher 3, but like I adore that game to the point like I can't. It's one of those things where it's like I don't ever remember being so like fed up with the combat like you guys.
Like I said, I wouldn't say I was fed up with the combat. It was just super boring. Yeah, it's just like, I'm gonna spam the spin attack, and now I'm gonna cast fire, and it's just I'm just doing the same shit, and nothing's ever super exciting about it.
It's a mile wide and an inch deep.
That's what she said. All right, moving on. Next question from.
Oh, Carlos?
Yes.
I saw this.
Oh, no.
Who's the most boomer out of all of y'all?
Chris
Davis.
Fuck you guys.
I don't even feel nice. I can't even make that joke.
I'm pretty sure you fought in World War II. The way you talk about fucking aircraft from that era.
He didn't fight in World War II. He fought in Korea.
No, I would have.
I feel like this is highly inappropriate considering it was Veterans Day yesterday.
Yeah.
True.
But I feel like he would be
you know what the answer is?
The one most
Carlos.
likely to attend a Veterans Day event.
All right, I'll give it to you there.
All right, next question from Ash. Any book recommendations? Brad and Chris have got me into some shit in the past, and I'm hungry for more.
Book recommendations?
Man, I haven't read a fucking book.
It depends on the type of book you're
Have you read Harry Potter? It changed my life.
Did it, though?
A good book would be Wool, specifically the Omnibus edition.
I did read Wool. That was pretty good.
Wool is good. I've actually been reading a book recently about salt. It's literally, I think it's called Salt, and I think there's some subtitle to it, but it's literally just about the history of salt, like how it's like shaped like worlds and civilizations and economies and stuff. It's actually pretty fucking interesting, like because it's not just salt is sodium blah blah blah. It's like in ancient China, like and it goes into some pretty great details about like
there's probably a whole chapter about you're worth your weight in salt.
Oh no, definitely. About how as so many of the sayings that we use nowadays have been derived from salt. The word salary comes from the Latin salarium or something, which is salt, because yes, it was you're worth your weight in salt. You got paid by how much you did in salt, and that was your salary. So so a lot of the words we use. Yeah. So Carlos, how do you know that? Carlos literally just said what I was just saying. But yeah, so it's a really interesting book, and I'm only like maybe a quarter of the way through it, and there's a shit ton of stuff. It's essentially a book about history that revolves around salt. I would recommend that one.
I'm going to look this up because it's going to drive me crazy, but I've mentioned this several times, but every time it comes up in the podcast, I forget the title of the book. Mm-hmm. It's the Western book that I've brought up several times, and I can never remember the name of it.
Five Goes West.
No, I'm going to find it. I'm going to let everybody know here in a second.
There's a nonfiction book I really like. It's called Blind Man's Bluff. It's about the history of submarines.
The history of submarines.
More specifically, like in the Cold War era. And just like it's about spies and how these crews went out and did all these really amazing things, just in the Cold War era. It's really good.
Cool. And I will have a recommendation for you in a moment.
The Martian. If you've never read that book, that
The
one's real
Martian.
fucking good.
Yeah.
I found the book. It's called Salt, A World History.
Can I just look at our phones?
I'm
Well, I mean, yeah.
looking up my book.
It's by Mark Kurlansky. All right. Anyway,
Yeah,
while they're
anyway.
looking that up, let's move on.
Yeah.
Thorax. What would you prefer? Go 3 days without changing socks, or go 3 days without changing underwear? Socks.
Socks.
100%.
Socks.
100%.
150%.
3 days without changing.
I don't fart in my socks.
Yeah.
I mean, not usually.
my socks aren't proximate to my butt.
Not without good reason. That's why.
Why is there hesitation from you, Brad?
I'm thinking about it.
Brad's trying to think of a funny joke.
No.
You shouldn't have to think about this.
There is a clear, definitive answer here. And it's socks.
It's definitely socks.
As the
100%.
ones you want to change more?
The book.
If
that
you
you
had to go
keep
3
wearing.
days re-wearing the same thing, would you rather wear your underwear 3 days in a row or socks 3 days in a row?
While Brad's trying to
I
think
feel
of
like
an
you
answer.
could like air out some underwear.
you can air out your fucking socks too. You're not allowed to take them off. Let's say that.
I feel like your socks are way more likely to get kind of sweaty and gross. I don't know.
You're not allowed to take them off, even when you shit. Which one do you want to change?
All right.
Can I shit in a sock? Wait.
You can poop sock.
The book that I was going to mention that I always conveniently forget the name of while we're recording. It's a book called Heresy. By Melissa Lenhart, and it's a western about a group of female outlaws in the Wild West. Very good book.
Female outlaws, you say.
It's a gang of female outlaws, and it's pretty darn good. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So the book is called Heresy. I can finally get that off my chest.
You know, it's funny. When we were at F1 a couple of weekends ago, we saw a Pink concert.
Oh yeah,
And I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember what Pink's name was, so I had looked it up.
Pink.
Sure, we'll go with that. And I found one of her. I can't remember which music video it was now, but it was the song, one of her big songs that kicked her off.
Yeah.
And it's like she's like not a damsel in distress. That's the whole point. Is she's not. It's like a western.
I think I recall this
and
music
she's-
video actually.
Yeah, but the funny thing was, I just kind of randomly pulled up the video and was scrubbing through it. Jeremy Renner's in that music video.
What?
Yeah.
That's a strange place to pop
It's
up.
pretty fucking funny. I'm sure someone in chat probably knows the name of the video.
What
Everyone.
year was this like, though?
That's early career.
Yeah, like 90s.
Like
Okay.
late 90s maybe or something like that. I don't know. I can look it up later.
I mean, think about it this way: Jeremy Renner is in this music video.
yeah.
It's clearly the start of his career as well.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely an older one.
So I think we've answered the question about the socks and underwear definitively. Let's move on.
100%. Next question from Fuzzy Turd. Why do you have to ask such long questions? As someone whose childhood gaming nostalgia belongs to the classic 3D platformer like Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper, classic Call of Duties like Call of Duty 2, Big Red One, GTA, those badass racing games, Need for Speed Underground, etc., I find it nigh impossible to get into older, quote, Brad games. I know for a fact there's a ton to love about them, but I just cannot play more than a session of them, if even.
Is he going to
I
drop some
find
examples?
myself basically shying away from 2D games in general, Hollow Knight being the exception.
Okay.
My question is, do you have nostalgia for those classic games to really enjoy them? If not, how do you get into them when there are other games around, like your Yakuzas and Red Deads? I want to appreciate that era of gaming, but I can't really enjoy them because soundtracks and maybe some pixel art, except for maybe the soundtracks and some pixel art.
So
I think he needed to drop some more examples of what he's referring
Well,
to.
no,
Yeah.
so essentially what he's saying is when he tries to go back and play older games,
Like older 2D side-scrolling games, it sounds like.
and maybe some other ones as well. But yeah, it's hard. And you know, you had mentioned, yes, thank you, Side Rail Trouble was the video, that song. But he has a hard time going back to those older games, and maybe the reason Brad loves them as much as he does is because he played them when he was younger, and he has that nostalgia, and he can go back to them. Whereas someone who didn't get into gaming then, or was just not old enough back then, you know, maybe they were only born, 20 years ago.
Hey, it's
so
not
like,
it's not unheard of. Like look at me, like
I think you're a prime example,
I'm
Nick, that
looking
you
at
have
it.
trouble.
I
with
have
older
trouble
games.
playing Chrono Trigger for God's sake.
But okay, so here's what I'll say. And And I will say, I have gone back to play old games that I didn't play back then, and I've really enjoyed
But you played
them.
other games like them.
I think what you should do is, I think you should look up what are the absolute fucking classics of the genre, and make sure you're picking a genre that you do typically like, and try the Chrono Triggers, the Final Fantasy VIs, the Final Fantasy Tactics. Try the ones that are considered to be the best of the best, because likely you're not going to bounce off those because they have such legendary pill. Usually, if they're held up to time, they're timeless, right? Yeah. So
it doesn't matter because it's going to be one of those things where the art style they chose still looks good today. So, you think of like Wind Waker,
just really polished.
Playing Wind Waker 30 years later, it's still going to look good. I
am speaking of as someone who has bounced off of Chrono Trigger
and Link to the Past, and
but no. So I wanted to say that I do think nostalgia does play a big role. Thinking back to when I was younger, like if I were to bust out my copy that's sitting over there of Need for Speed Underground 2, that game kind of looks like doo-doo butt now. But you know what? I probably play it for a little bit just because I remember playing it back in the day.
You know what it was for me?
Doing those drag races, you got to shift right on time.
Midnight Club was my racing jam.
I do think that nostalgia does play a big role, and I would kind of go along with what Brad said. Don't try what chatter is playing every single RPG in the fucking world.
Blobbly.
Yeah. Don't try and pull a Blobbly and play everything. Because you're gonna have to wade through not necessarily a lot of bad games, but a lot of mediocre games, and don't get turned off by those mediocre games.
If you want to develop a taste for those older games, you got to start with the big ones, like the ones that are timeless, the ones that are start with the things that are almost universally acclaimed, and then work your way back. Like you may develop a taste for them and then be able to handle some of them.
And I would also say that if you really enjoy a modern game, maybe go back and see the back catalog of that developer, of those guys that made those games.
Pick a developer or pick a series.
Like if you love Mass Effect, for example.
Yeah. Or
you want to see about the early history.
Go back and play some fucking Baldur's
BioWare?
Gate.
Yeah.
No, go beyond that. Go to Shattered Steel.
No,
see what
don't
that
listen to
don't
him.
go that far.
Don't listen to him.
Don't go that far.
Baldur's Gate 2 is the one you're looking for.
Yeah.
If you love Alan Wake,
go
back. Dive into the gameography of that developer and play the games that put them on the map.
But he's acting like I haven't done that.
Hold on, but one of the things I wanted to bring up was something like I love Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear.
The original Metal Gear?
Depending on the version you played.
Well,
play Metal Gear 2.
So, they're different, but that's what I'm saying. Metal Gear is an extremely fucking different game. It's challenging. It's kind of awkward. It's one of those things where I've beaten it. I played through the entirety of the game.
It's an 8-bit game.
But it's also one of those things where older games, they definitely don't hold your hand. And you're either going to A, get very frustrated, B, spend a whole lot of time on it, or C, just kind of look some stuff up online because I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience now to spend 40 minutes not realizing I had to backtrack to this one area and talk to this one guy for him to give me some item that I now need because the game never told you that. And so that's one thing I will say about older games is be prepared to have stuff like that happen. Games did not hold your hand at all back in the day. All right, we need to move on.
Next question.
The Drunken Merchant. No spoilers. In the beginning of Death Stranding, somebody eats something, and it looks just as awful to me as the, quote, hand-to-mouth eating animations of the PS1 era.
That chewing animation was
relatively.
terrible.
In your opinion, is there something graphically or gameplay-wise that has still not been mastered or even done well despite it being 2019?
That's easy.
Yes, 100%.
Kissing.
No, it's not even that. It's the human lips. Trying to animate the lips is literally the most difficult part of the human body. Like you put like a mask on someone, they're gonna look amazing. As soon as you take that mask off, everything starts to get fucking awkward, and it's just one of those subconscious things that we know. It's uncanny valley.
It's gotten better.
No, I understand it's gotten better. It is still difficult. Look, it is okay. I know it's not. I know it's 2019, but look at 2018. Right? Look at 2018 and how fucking awkward it looked when they tried to animate Henry Cavill's upper lip. They tried to take out that mustache. It's so good.
To be fair, that was
weird as fuck.
To be fair, I think that was a rush job.
That was a rush.
That's besides the point. That is a very difficult thing, and I guarantee you, most cases, if you're looking at something that kind of looks weird, just fucking put your hand over their mouth while they're, and I guarantee you it will look 10 times better.
It's just
because that's where it gets awkward.
There's so many intricacies about how the muscles work and how your teeth interact, and even your tongue, like in saying words or interacting with anything.
But yeah, I go back to my original answer as an extension of what everything Nolan and Chris just said. As soon as mouths alone are difficult, but when you put two of them together, it's even harder. So anything involving kissing between two characters in a game, there's been a few that I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. But most of the time, it's kind of like, ooh, let's just try and draw attention away from that animation as quickly as possible because it turns out awkward as shit.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from Don Dolan. Probably asked before, but who would be your dream guest to have on the podcast?
Oh, man. I mean, as a podcast, it doesn't really have guests very often.
I would say Helen Keller.
What? Oh, I thought this was somebody like...
How?
Oh, these are like famous people, celebrities?
Whoever you want. Your
dream guest.
Is it because she wouldn't see the invite coming?
Oh, no. What? Guys, that is so wrong. That's so wrong.
Nick, you realize she's like dead.
Cult Chief in chat says Keanu Reeves. That'd be fun. I would want somebody I would want to have someone on the show.
Did you see the Between Two Ferns with Keanu Reeves?
Oh, it's so good. Oh, by the way, we watched.
He's like, on a scale of 1 to 100, how many words do you know?
Dude, when Robin's mom was in town this past weekend, and for whatever reason, we decided to watch the movie Between Two Ferns. Not very good. But for the first time I've ever seen, they do bloopers in the credits. We're dying laughing. It's so good. Like, I've never seen them actually break character because they're so good at holding a straight face. But like when they crack up, it is so good. I recommend watching the credits of that movie.
I've Zach Galifianakis was on a podcast I listened to, and they were asking him about Between Two Ferns, and he was saying that like most of the time none of it's like scripted. Like, he knows the questions he's going to ask, but they don't know the questions he's going to ask.
Yeah, because their you could tell some actors are better at improvisation than others, and some people just kind of don't know what to say.
He was saying the one time that the person kind of knew the questions beforehand was when he interviewed Barack Obama.
Oh,
that was the one time.
There's probably a pretty good reason for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would want somebody who's...
Wendelfer has a good one.
I would want somebody who's like known for being really casual and pleasant.
They'd be on like the podcast in person, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I agree with Wind.
Who is that?
Look it up after the show.
I think I know what that is. Okay.
What? Who? People aren't objects, Nick.
I think there's an irony here in what we're talking about.
Next
right?
question from Browna.
Oh God, maybe.
What?
Okay, fine. Read it.
Did Epstein kill himself?
Jesus.
The answer is no. We all know it.
I don't think he did. No.
I want John C. Reilly as a guest.
That's a good one.
That'd be a good one. Yeah.
Did John C. Reilly kill Jeffrey Epstein?
Definitely not.
Somebody did. Somebody fucking did.
Because it wasn't himself.
Most certainly.
Next question from one Mr. Boy. Why do video game movies suck so bad? Like, really, i.e. Sonic?
I mean, I think inherently it stems from the fact that
those
stories are told in a very particular way.
Those mediums just do not easily cross.
There's something. Video games are special because of the approach, the specific kind of approach you can take to telling a story or giving agency to the player that's playing them. Movies are special because they are able to focus your attention and tell a very specific story in a very intentional way.
But there's no reason that can't be turned
into
a movie. But the problem
that's
is,
probably why The Wire
it's like big fucking companies that want the shit get turned into a movie, and it's not coming from like a place of passion or a person of craft. It's just a boardroom deciding they want to make a video game movie.
So that is designed by committee.
That is one thing I will say about the prospect of Kojima making movies is that you can tell whatever he does, if he makes a movie, it's going to come from a place of passion, because I feel like that's everything that he does.
So a lot of it is cash grabs. Yeah. It's, hey, this thing's hot. How can we make some money off of it?
Cheaply.
Yeah. So there are decent video game movies. It really depends. It depends on do they try to make the movie gamey? You know what I'm saying? Do they try and do
Doom?
Like Doom? Cult Chief said Detective Pikachu. Yeah, that was a pretty good movie. But you know what? 90% of that movie had nothing to do with the video game.
Yeah.
It was a movie that took place in that video game universe. That video game universe happens to be a fairly fleshed out one.
You got to be able to detach yourself from the game, the source material. I think
you could take every Pokemon out of that movie and replace it with something else, and it would still be a good movie.
But wasn't the plot of the Detective Pikachu game about a Detective Pikachu investigating a murder?
Not really.
I thought it was.
Did you watch the movie?
I haven't yet. I wanted to.
Well, then you can chime in on it.
I mean, he is a detective.
I'm just saying,
and he is trying to solve a mystery. But there are I think Nolan's right. There are elements that if you could theoretically replace the Pokemon with something else. I don't know what it would be. Geese, maybe.
You could replace it with people.
Detective Geese. Goose
sure,
or Detective Goose, I guess.
I'm sure there are probably some other decent ones. But like I said, I think it's just one of those things where it just stems from A, being cash grabs, and then B, designed by committee. People not really caring about it.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, that's all the questions from our patrons. We don't have any supporter questions this week.
Subscriber questions?
Supporter? Subscriber, sure.
Twitch subscriber questions?
Yeah. We don't have any questions in our supporter channel.
Well, thank you guys very much for the questions. Of course, if you are interested in asking us questions in the show every week, all you have to do is support us on Patreon at the $1 tier or higher. That's $1 a month. You can ask us anything you want. You can even ask us if we think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. My God, people. But seriously.
That being said, not Jeffrey Epstein. Pokemon, Detective Pikachu. There's been at least 4 or 5 Pokemon animated films.
Oh, those been a dozen.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sure it's several of those have been decent or good.
Yeah, I'm sure they have.
So I mean that's an example. But I mean,
luckily they were building off of a show.
I would say that's a hard one to do, mainly because Pokemon started as a video game.
Yeah.
But then it morphed into so much more. So I mean that's kind of one that's a little bit easier to.
The first Resident Evil movie I actually really liked.
The first Resident Evil movie was all right. Okay,
go back to watch it. Jesus, it's bad.
It's bad. It's bad, but it's also better than everyone that came.
I still liked it.
It's better than everyone that came after it.
I mean, that's a fair statement.
That's absolutely true.
That's a fair statement.
All right, our supporter spotlight this week, guys, is River Plus A. River Plusa. Again, I want to remind everybody, if you are a supporter on Patreon or Twitch and you would like to be chosen for Supporter Spotlight, all you have to do is go to the Supporters channel or Supporter Spotlight channel in Discord. You should have access to it if you've linked your Discord account. And you can click on the link that's pinned there, take a short questionnaire or answer a few questions about yourself in terms of your taste in games and just a few gaming related questions and whatnot. We'll pick someone at random every week and read your responses. This week, like I said, River Plus A, also known as Sam from Atlanta, Georgia. Let us know where you're from, guys. We always like to know where you're coming from. So,
if you want to give us, your credit card number, or your
social security number, all that good stuff.
That'd be nice too.
Sam from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm just going to pick a couple of his responses.
Sam,
what is one interesting fact about yourself that you would like the community to know? He says, not all too interesting, but I'm currently an apprentice elevator mechanic.
Whoa.
It's probably the best way to get over my fear of heights. Also, as for my chat name, whenever I'm asked how to spell my last name, I tell them River Plus A. Oh.
There you go.
Okay, it is River Plus A.
Cool. River Plus A.
I don't know if that's a really good occupation to go into. It's got its ups and downs.
Oh my God, that's worse than every dad joke Nolan has ever told. And he tells a lot of them on the show. God damn it. This is the boomer show. All right. Yeah, the fucking elevator thing is actually kind of freaky. I don't... So, when you're, servicing an elevator... Okay, that sounds really bad.
Service an elevator with a little bit of the up and down,
He knows how to push its buttons.
Oh, my God, people.
It can also be very uplifting.
Oh, my God. Next fucking... Okay. What are your top 5 games of all time? I'm going to read his top 5. His number 5, Baldur's Gate
2.
Yeah, probably
He
2.
says 2. You said what do you
Or
say?
Dark-
Brett?
Oh, yeah,
Alliance.
two, of course.
It's Dark Alliance.
What?
He says not a great game, but it was the top 5 games of all time. Not a great game.
It's
but,
solid.
not a great game, but it was my first, the first RPG I obsessed about.
The water mechanics
When I
are
noticed
great.
my character's appearance changing, I was hooked. It led to my taste in RPGs and having my character change and grow.
That's a really good, like, my first Western RPG kind of.
Yeah,
It's a Diablo like that. That's the thing. It really is nothing like Baldur's Gate. It's like Diablo.
That was one on the
Diablo,
PS2, right?
But on the
Yeah.
PS2 where you could actually play it.
It's Diablo Light.
Oh, okay. Which leads me to his number 4 game of all time, Diablo
It better be 2. Jesus.
Yeah, 2.
2.
3.
People love 3.
He says Diablo 2 is a much better game.
Fuck.
But the reason 3 is on my list is because it's the only game that my girlfriend took interest in and opened the door to her gaming life. I don't particularly enjoy the game, but I give it respect because it led to our gaming relationship. We finished Divinity Original Sin 2 last year over the holidays.
Nice.
I hope
that's-
that's in your 1 through 3.
Let me see if that's in there. Nope, it's not. Number 3, Call of Duty.
Modern Warfare.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Another game that isn't particularly great. Are you missing the point of this list? Another game that isn't particularly great, but it was my first experience with an online game. He says in parentheses, console life.
You've got some video gaming self-esteem issues.
I remember my dad was watching me play for the first time and asked me why I was always dead. I tried to explain that the person who killed me was just a better player. His mind was blown when he realized it was a real person I was playing against. First of all, that's a pretty great game. I'm not sure where he's coming from saying it's not a particularly great game. I mean, even if it's not really your thing, it's a pretty well-made first-person
It was
shooter.
a revolutionary game.
I mean, it's the only...
You shouldn't be ashamed
it was
of any
a
of these
game.
choices.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty solid choices. Let's see if he develops some confidence in his number 2 and number 1. Number 2, Dark Souls.
2.
1.
Dark Souls. We know why
Demon
it's
Souls.
we know why it's on anyone's top list. An all around great game. I think that sums it up. Yeah, that's a great fucking video game. And his number 1, Legend of Zelda.
I'm
Breath
going to
of the
say Wind Waker.
I was going to say Wind Waker.
Wind Waker.
Breath of the Wild.
You're all wrong.
Majora's Mask.
It's the correct answer. Ocarina of Time. The game I got with my N64, what can I say? It was the first time I felt small. It gave me the feeling of being on a grand adventure. Yeah. I completely agree with that game, with that sentiment. That game is still fucking incredible to this day. It's one of the few games out there I feel like I can play an infinite number of times and never feel like it's aged. Especially now that the 3DS version exists. And let's see. This is from what is the game that you feel has defined the current console generation and why? He says Fortnite. You either love it or you hate it, but you can't deny it's huge. And Dark Souls. It's a great genre. It created a genre. There we go. I think Dark Souls is the better answer there, personally. All right. Thank
The
you.
problem is that's not current console generation.
Yeah.
That is true. Unless he
last gen.
unless he
Yeah.
filled this thing out a long time ago. Sam, from Atlanta, Georgia, thank you very much for your responses. Again, if you're listening to this show and you want to submit your answers to these questions so we can read your responses, just go to discord.gg/4player once you're a supporter on Patreon or Twitch and link your account. Click on the Supporter Spotlight channel and there is a pinned message in there where you can access the form. So now let's wrap up the show as we always do. 4-player minute. Brad, you ready?
Yeah.
Hype, sweat, thank you, and fuck you, or any combination thereof.
My hype goes to Shovel Knight.
Brad, you would have known that if you had your headphones on.
Yeah, I haven't had them on, have I?
You and Chris Davis.
Wait, you haven't had your
I
head?
had him on the first half.
Nick and I are the only ones who know how we sound.
I never
Our
even
patrons
saw them.
paid for these things, you monsters.
I never even saw them. Oh. Yeah, I just didn't see them. Oh well. My hype for this week goes to all things Shovel Knight coming out in December. Especially is it King of Cards? Is it called King of Cards?
Yeah.
I think they
Yes.
changed the name.
They did? I didn't know about that.
I think it's going to be sort of like a little surprise at the end of the year to kind of cap things off and top things off, and it's going to be really good. I can't wait to play it. And I think those amiibos are finally coming out. Did they ever come out? They had a 3-pack of Shovel Knight amiibos that came with with Plague Knight,
Mm-hmm.
Spectre Knight, and King Knight, and I know I ordered it, but I never got it.
Uh-oh.
I think it's in December.
I think it's finally coming out. My sweat is for Death Stranding, not because I'm worried that I like the game. I'll like the game. I'm worried that do I really have the time to commit to that in spite of other games? And I'm a little worried about making that decision. If that makes any sense. There's a lot of games I really enjoyed this year that I started this year that I have not finished, and I'm supposed to be using this time right now to finish up those games. And if I make the decision to play Death Stranding now, I feel like, I don't know, I might just not finish Sekiro or other games that I
Wait, I thought you said you finished Sekiro.
You also don't pay attention. I also
Did Brad just tell me I don't pay attention?
yes,
You fucking...
because I told you afterwards on the podcast that I was just joking to fuck with you, to make you feel bad.
I think you didn't tell me that actually out loud.
I did. About playing some other crap that you were playing at the time. You were like playing like a World War II. It was on the episode where you were playing World War II. Anyways, yeah, so that's my sweat. My fuck you goes to Pokemon fans.
Yeah, fuck them.
Because I feel like...
Wait, your fuck you goes to Pokemon fans?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's not unreasonable.
No, I thought you
right?
said my sweat goes to Pokemon fans, and I was like, what?
No. My fuck you goes to Pokemon fans because I feel like ever since they announced Sword and Shield, or I guess they showed it off, I had this like little like interest, peaked in the back of my ass. And I don't know where I was going with that. And I was like, it was kind of building like, maybe I'll play this Pokemon.
Did you have to fart?
Maybe I'll play this Pokemon game. This seems kind of cool. It looks nice. I can play in front of Henry. Me and Henry have been watching the show a little bit on the television.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll play a Pokemon game. Maybe I'll get this Pokemon game. But then it's just been non-stop like shit and controversy. Like Pokemon fans don't know when to shut up. They make their thing that they love sound terrible because they're complaining about like Pokedexes and shit, Dexit and stuff, and it's like, man, I'm not even a Pokemon fan, but you're killing my hype for Pokemon. That's how you know you're bad.
They're stomping
calm down
it out.
and love the thing you love, man. Because
Man, I feel like Brad's like channeling me.
He's also popping on the mic a lot, and he would know that if he had his headphones on.
Peter Piper Pickle Peppers. My thank you for this week goes to Haste, who very kindly sent me a copy of Alliance Alive on the Switch. It's very kind of you.
Thank you, Haste.
This was a game that came out a couple years ago on the 3DS, and I had started playing it then. I was renting it from Gamefly, and I was interested in playing a lot more of it, but shit happens, things come up. Who even knows where my 3DS is right now? But they re-released it on the Switch. The reason I was interested in because the creator of Suikoden is the scenario writer on this game, and I love Suikoden. And so now that it's on the Switch, and Hayes sent me a copy, maybe I'll actually get through it this time. I'm kind of excited to start it up again. I didn't get very far last time, so thank you very much, Hayes. This is awesome.
Cool. All right, Nolan.
My 4-player minute starts now. My hype. For The Mandalorian.
Is there buzz on that yet?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah,
I know people in our
probably should get
Discord have
Disney
already,
Plus.
some people in our Discord have already watched it and said that they were like over the moon about it.
Like the first episode, right?
Yeah, first episode. I saw one review that was like it's off to kind of a rocky start, but most people that I've actually seen and like talking about it on the internet,
what's funny?
have been pretty positive
So
about it.
we got Disney Plus, and me and my wife were sitting there during lunch and kind of looking through everything, and she asked me a question, and whatever. She asked me, so what is the Mandalorian? And I was like, I have no fucking clue. But I know Boba Fett was supposedly one because they call it Mandalorian armor. She's like, is that a race? Is that a people? Is that a job? Is it a job to be a Mandalorian? And I was like, I have no fucking clue. That's some nerd, like, extended universe shit. All I know is in the original, he was, like, very mysterious, and that's what made Boba Fett cool. And I think the Jango Fett was also a Mandalorian, but he was like a clone. So my question for you guys is, what the fuck is a Mandalorian?
Crispy would know.
A Mandalorian is a person from the planet Mandalore.
Oh.
It's
Why did they all look the same?
They're a race of like mercenary warriors.
Jango Fett.
No.
They're a race of mercenaries. You said a race of a job.
No, I didn't.
You did. You said a race of
Big Wazoo says Boba Fett actually wasn't a Mandalorian. He just wore Mandalorian armor.
Okay,
They're from a planet called Mandalore.
Okay, so it's like the attire of their people. But
One of your
but
main
you said they're like
characters
mercenaries.
One of your main characters in KOTOR, I think, was a Mandalorian.
Okay.
What does that have to do? I mean,
I'm just saying you've heard of them before.
You know what?
They're mercenaries and bounty hunters, but they're
Yes.
a people.
Yes.
And that's what their armor looks like.
you know what? Let's stop trouncing all over my 4-player minute.
Well,
Oh, right. It's Nolan's player.
Yeah.
this is an organic podcast.
My hype goes for more Death Stranding. I'm very excited to deliver more packages and run away from BTs and see what the rest of this fucking game is. My thank you is going to go to not Brad for making all that noise on the mic.
So here, because your hype is for packages, here you go, Nolan.
My thank goes to everyone who voted for Dragon's Dogma for the next Revival Club. Very excited to play that one. Get my hands back on that game. Great game. My fuck you goes to Dragon's Dogma because it's just one more fucking
What
game I have
class
to
are you
play.
gonna do?
I don't fucking know.
Maybe, I mean, this,
I don't know.
This is,
Do the Mr.
if it makes you feel any better, Nolan, I've been thinking about it, and like this is kind of a beefy game, and
It is.
and people seem to be really into it, and it is kind of coming up on the end of the year, and we're playing a bunch of stuff. So maybe we'll make this a little bit of a longer one. Maybe let it extend a little bit into 2020. So,
It's a beefy ass game.
So we
have
can-
certain
for KOTOR
obligations
too.
It's
Coming
probably
out.
the beefiest game out of
so-
all of the.
Oh, yeah.
Revival
so we can
Club games
we can
so far.
juggle a few more things. I'm just saying.
Remember, Mystic Knight has they can summon that magic orb, and then they hit the orb, and it
That's true.
shatters
yeah.
into like all these different
Dude,
missile
there's a
attacks.
lot of fucking good classes. Dude, you could be. What was the ninja class where you like go off on your own? Was it a ninja?
The assassin, I think.
The assassin, yeah. When you're alone, when you don't have pawns with you,
Yeah.
you like move faster and you're quieter and you do more damage and stuff like that.
That sounds dope.
Dude, fucking everything in that game is dope, man.
Mystic Archers, though.
All right,
The
cool.
what?
Mystic Archer.
Mystic Archer's fantastic. You can't get over the Mystic Archer. Dude, the fact that fucking when you encounter trolls, they don't like go after the men. They just go after the women in your party. So if you have
Really?
like yes. Because and they pick them up and they run and hide and they like start fucking like petting them and stuff and you're fucking trying to hit them on the back and you're like, give me back my pawn.
That's funny. All right, Chris Davis,
All right.
4-player minute.
Yep, 4-player minute. My hype this week is for Jedi Fallen Order. Comes out Friday, right?
It does.
And
Redbox, though, right?
No, I'm buying it.
No, I know, but
the
it's
review
coming to
embargo
Redbox.
hits Thursday at midnight.
Jesus
but
Christ.
at the same time, early impressions are coming out from leaks and stuff, and it's nothing but positive. There's nothing but positive stuff going on for this game.
All right.
Plus, it's fucking Respawn. You trust Respawn. They have a solid track record.
I mean,
No, fuck you. Fuck you. Trust in Respawn.
I like
goddammit.
Respawn, but they've not put out enough games for you to say that.
Also-
No,
definitively
fuck
yet.
you. Because the guys who made Respawn made, I don't know, fucking Call of Duty. Made fucking Medal of Honor Allied Assault.
I'm sorry, Chris Davis. The only reason I'm sure Respawn's great, but
Okay,
Star
brother.
Wars as a video game IP has been a fucking disaster. Fucking disaster under EA's leadership. So my hesitation lies more in that corner.
yeah, let's say that.
EA handling a license is one thing. A developer making
Yeah,
a game
but
is
they
a whole
make
other.
the decisions. They are.
How many?
Okay, first,
How
okay.
many games have they put
Chris
out?
Davis, you don't need to get all riled up because I'm also very excited for this game, and I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Titanfall 1 and 2 and Apex Legends, all pretty well received.
Yes.
Going back to Dragon's Dogma real quick, as someone in chat asks, how long to beat says the main story is 36 and a half hours, plus extras 58 hours,
Yeah.
and
Easily.
completionist is 112.
I believe it.
So
And
not-
the Dark Arisen stuff.
This is Dark Arisen specifically. So yeah, Dark Arisen does add more stuff. But yeah, so you're looking at least 40, 50 hours.
Yeah. All right.
My sweat this week goes to Death Stranding because I started thinking about the game and I realized that the game is kind of slowed down in giving me things that really excite me and things to look forward to. And I'm worried that we're only on map 2 of probably 3 or possibly even 4. And if this is just what the game is and it doesn't start presenting more challenges, I don't think I'm going to finish this. I mean, I would get halfway, honestly, before I just abandon it.
This is the first spicy thing I've heard anybody in our fucking community say about this game.
I've been worried about this game for a while, and I'm hopeful, but I'm not crossing my fingers on this one.
Fair enough.
My fuck you this week goes to everybody who's not going to see Terminator Dark Fate, because that movie is better than it has any right to be.
It's no Terminator 3, though.
That's not a way to sell a movie.
People
just because it's
fucking-
better than it should be doesn't mean someone should watch it.
People are fucking snubbing
Or
this
more
movie.
more importantly, pay money for it.
Despite the fact that they do some pretty interesting things with the characters, and they actually...
I mean, the scary thing about this is that Terminator Genesis did better than this.
A lot better.
that's
A lot better. And that movie was
sad.
That movie was
Well, because they
because-
marketed it well and everyone was excited.
But they
for it.
marketed this one plenty. I think they've just
It's because Genesis sucked, and the one before that sucked, and the
That's
one
what
before
I'm
that sucked.
saying. They've been
People,
burned.
Yeah, they cried wolf too many fucking times, and now no one's paying money to go see the wolf.
You know, the scene
Or the
from the
sheep.
first movie when you're grabbing onto the fence and you're like, ah! That's how people feel. They don't want that to happen again.
I'll say, if you are a fan of this franchise, you should go see this movie. If you are a fan of like this recent trend of like 30 years later movies, you should go see this as well.
You mean creatively
Are there
bankrupt?
people? Yeah, are there people who are
creative
fans of
designed
that?
by committee movies?
Creatively bankrupt, and then there's movies like Blade Runner 2049 that are doing that work pretty
Okay.
well.
This is no
That's
Blade Runner.
kind of a
I
one-off.
would kind of
Wait, say it.
I would kind of say if you like that, you might want to check this out.
No, that's not what you're gonna say. You were gonna say I like this more than Blade Runner 2049, and that it is a
I
more
can't say that
artistically
statement.
impressive
I cannot
movie.
say that statement accurately.
Chris Davis, why would
because
you
I have
say
not
that?
seen Blade Runner 2049.
What the fuck? How are you going to make that comparison if you haven't seen it?
I did not see Blade Runner until like a couple years ago.
Okay, so what are you waiting for 30 years to watch 2049? Just watch
I'm
it.
just saying, if you're a fan of this kind of like genre,
Blade
30
Runner-
years later films,
Blade Runner
this is something
2049.
that I think is a kind of a tribute to
Blade
that
Runner
genre.
2049. I'm gonna go ahead and say it might be one of my favorite science fiction movies of the past
Well,
decade.
I mean, Chris has a point. If you're a fan of the Berenstein Bears, you might like Moby Dick.
All right,
What?
That's exactly what you. That's the
not
equivalent
what I said.
of what you
That's not
said.
what I
That is
said.
the same thing.
Berenstein
What is the
Bears does not
difference?
take place 30 years after Moby Dick, let alone have the
Blade
same
Runner
characters and story.
4029 doesn't take place 30 years after Terminator.
That was
No, but it takes place 20, 30 years later after Blade Runner.
did it hurt?
What you-
did it
what
hurt,
you-
Nolan? Pulling that out of your ass?
What you actually said is, if you liked this movie that I didn't even see and I know nothing about, you might like
That is
this
what you
Terminator
said.
movie that I like.
I'm just saying the genre.
That's not a genre. 30 years later is not a
It practically is
genre.
at this point. This soft reboot bullshit like Jurassic World was.
Time is not a genre.
Tell
that to Hideo Kojima.
It's actually Berenstain Bears. A lot of people
Whatever.
Wait,
And
really?
My
Yeah.
thank you
Sorry,
this
Berenstain.
week.
spelled that way and pronounced that
My
way.
thank you this week goes to you guys, because 18 days from now, your top 10 preliminary lists are due for 2019.
I don't think I'm doing a top 10
And you're
this
fucking
year.
turning them in on time, completed, so we can actually start
I'm not
getting
even
this
played
work
10
done.
games, dude.
Or I'm going to fucking murder you.
Are you telling me we've done a podcast for a whole year and you haven't played 10 games?
Well, I haven't finished 10 games.
There we go.
I've played more than 10 games.
Yeah, you all that time went to slay the Spire.
It's gonna be a light year for top 10.
You're going to be fucking turning your lists on time. We're going to get this shit done.
Well, you know what?
We're going to get our videos out in the early January.
If this is not motivation enough for you, Brad, just think of it this way: if you don't do a top 10, that means Days Gone is going to catapult up the top of the collective site-wide
no,
top
it
10
won't,
list.
because it's only going to be on your fucking list.
I know, but if there's no more lists, then
And if you guys don't get this shit done, I'm going to put you in the ground.
it's going to shoot to the top. All right, my 4-player minute starts now.
Do you think I should play Days Gone?
Yes. Well, no.
No.
No. You know what? No.
Brad
you don't
should
want me to
not.
play it and shit talk it.
I don't want to play. I don't want because I don't
What if
want
I
to. I don't
love
want
it?
you. You won't, dude. You're gonna fucking hate it, and you're gonna spend the rest of next year
no.
telling me how wrong
No,
I am.
dude, I finished Red Dead 2.
That's
That's a whole other class of video game.
No, I'm not comparing the two. I'm saying I played one of your games,
Yeah,
and I actually enjoyed it.
But Brad, hold on.
That was a bit of...
If you enjoyed Red Dead 2, you might enjoy Days Gone. They're pretty similar in their genre, so you might like that one.
Nick games. The genre is Nick games. 30 years later.
Oh, fuck you. I don't even know. I don't want to go anymore.
Go ahead.
Keep going. We got to end this podcast.
My 4-player minute starts now. My hype is for Dragon's Dogma. That's a pretty inspired choice, guys. It wasn't my vote, but I'm glad it won because it's been on my pile of shame for a very long time. So I'm looking forward to playing more of it.
Magic is really cool in that game.
I know. I never got to play enough of it to the point where I got to experience any of the magical experiences you guys described.
You know what else is cool in that game, Brad? Everything.
My fuck you of the week, despite the fact that I also adore this game so far, Death Stranding, that BT animation that keeps cropping up, that just kind of pulls me out and stops, brings everything to a screeching halt, drives me fucking bonkers. I hate it, but if that's the biggest thing I have to complain about right now, then this is going to be a pretty great game,
Since Hideo Kojima listens to this podcast, if you could go ahead and just patch that out...
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
My sweat goes to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, not because I don't have faith in Respawn. I do think Respawn is a fine developer, but there's been so much talk about this being maybe a Metroid-like and having elements of Dark Souls that if this game comes out and it can still be described as a kind of a shallow action game with maybe minor elements of Metroid and Dark Souls, it's going to be a huge disappointment. If I'm going to love this game, it's got to be fucking balls deep on the Metroid elements, balls deep on the Dark Souls elements, because another by the numbers Star Wars game from EA is not going to cut it. So I'm a little worried.
But
what?
Continue.
Say it, Brad. Say it, Brad.
Careful.
What are you basing this on?
I'm basing it off EA's track record. I haven't loved...
All they've made is Battlefront.
Dude, I'm just
saying.
saying...
that is a very different type of game.
All I'm saying is...
They've literally made no other Star Wars games.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. I'm saying this, then. This is a little more definitive for you.
Force Unleashed. It was a long time ago, and it was a very different type of game.
Dude, shut the fuck up for a second.
Okay.
I haven't loved a Star Wars game since Knights of the Old Republic.
Fair enough.
I have played Star Wars The Force Unleashed. It was alright. It was also over in 4 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't love it enough to even bother playing
But
The
this
Force
is going to be
2.
more like 30 hours.
Yeah, and it was 30 hours of just,
I predict that you will adore this.
I hope you're right. I really do. I put it as
Have you been reading previews?
Yes,
Okay.
dude. I was reading previews the first when the Game Informer article first came out, where they first did the expose on it, and they had all that extra stuff online. I was reading that in the airport on the way to go to E3 because I wanted nothing more than to play that at E3, and everything sounded great. Didn't get to play it at E3. Fucking shit.
I legitimately think this might be the one to take down Days Gone for you.
Oh my fucking
I'm being
you.
serious. I'm being serious.
I hate you so much. I fucking hate you. That's our show, guys. I really hope Star Wars is great. I really fucking do. In fact, it probably is going to be great. But you know what? I believe it when I see it, because Star Wars hasn't been great in a very long... in video games, has not been great in a very long-ass time.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
And we're nothing if not fair here, right?
Oh, no, that's bullshit.
I know. 4playernetwork.com is the website.
Did you even finish your 4-player minute?
Yeah, that was
Yes,
it.
That
you
was
did.
your
Oh,
one
no.
hype.
Fuck. Thank you.
Damn it.
My thank you goes to Haste. I finally watched the trailer he's been trying me to watch for Valfaris.
Valfaris, yeah.
Valfaris, which looks like a pretty dope 2D side-scrolling action game with some fucking crazy metal music. I love it. I'm probably going to give that game a shot and maybe talk about it in a few weeks. We'll see how it goes. But I got a pretty packed plate right now. But thank you, Haste, for bringing it to my attention. You got 2 thank yous this week. One from me, one from Brad. What a community member you are. All right. That's a wrap, guys. 4playernetwork.com is a website. Don't forget, we do these podcasts every single week. Normally it's on Thursdays. For the rest of November and maybe the first week of December, it's on Tuesdays. And in December, on the 14th, we're going to do a Project M. Please spread the word. Tell your friends. It's going to be fun. We'll have more details to post on that early next week once we've kind of hammered out all those specifics. But we're going to be raising money for charity and playing a game together all day long. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you guys can join us. And of course, if you want to support us, patreon.com/4player, and we'll see you in Discord at discord.gg/4player. Good night. See you next week.
Good night.